Hello, everybody. Josh from the Clearing Waivers podcast here, coming at you for another week of the Clearing Waivers podcast. We appreciate you coming by, stopping in, and listening to what we have to say into these stupid microphones. Our stupid opinions and our stupid voices are coming into your ears. We appreciate you stopping by. We've got a big week this week. We've got some NFL playoffs to talk about. We brought on our buddy Craig Stout from Arrowhead Pride. Came on. Brian and I got to talk to him for a little while, and we also made a new friend. We haven't talked about Mizzou a whole lot on here this year, but we did get a new friend, Brad Trinago. He does the play-by-play for the women's basketball team on the Mizzou radio network, and then he also does the Mizzou Football pregame and halftime show. He's the host of that. Great dude. Loved our talk with him. We had about 20 minutes to talk both Mizzou basketball, men's basketball, and Mizzou football. Had a fun key trade cut with both of those guys. They're real good sports with the exercise and stupidity that we send them both through. So look forward to that. But as you can see, the four of us are ready to roll. But we're going to start off with those two interviews, starting off with Brad Trinago of Mizzou, going right into the Craig Stout interview of Arrowhead Pride, and we'll come back and do our usual show. So without further ado, Josh, change your hat to a Mizzou hat and then to a Chiefs fan hat. We'll see you in a minute. Joining us tonight is the voice of Mizzou women's basketball, as well as the host of Mizzou Football pregame and halftime show, Mr. Brad Trinago. Brad, thanks for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem. Good to be here.
We've got a common friend in Adam Summer, old buddy, old co-host Adam Summer. So shout out to him again in the Heartland Pod, what he's doing over there. But we wanted to talk to you. By the way, you have one of the most great radio voices of anybody that we've talked to personally, for sure, but it's just objectively a great radio voice, great broadcasting voice, as well as I was talking to Brad Trinago is such a great play-by-play guy's name. I mean, that's Mount Rushmore of play-by-play names.
I appreciate this. You're off to an excellent start, by the way, on this interview. Yeah, it's funny. You look at my name, and it looks like, especially if you don't have like an Italian background, it looks like a jumbled mess. But when you say it, it works out okay. It's flowed pretty well for me, 100%. So I've been happy about it.
You got a Mike Tirico thing going on.
There you go. Exactly.
Italian Mike. Mm-hmm. Well, we wanted to get you on, itching to talk to you a little bit about the former season of Mizzou football. Seemed like a lot of exceeded expectation in Drinkwood's first year. So we'll kind of start there. He went 5-5, inherited a pretty strong recruiting class, and then this most recent recruiting class seems to be pretty stocked here. So what, I guess overall, generally, what are your thoughts about Eli Drinkwood's first year at Mizzou?
Yeah, I'd agree with you, Josh, that it exceeded expectations. I think, at least from everything that I saw. I mean, you're talking about, 5-5 with an all SEC schedule. I mean, what is that really? That's like that's an 8-4, right? That's an 8-4. That's a 9-3 because you're only playing 8 SEC games. You're throwing in 3 or 4 directional schools. So if you're able to win 5 conference games in a season, I mean, I think that really speaks to what he was able to do with some people that were not his guys. I mean, he has his own system, his own way that I'm sure he wants to do things, and we're starting to see that with the recruiting class he has. So I think it speaks a lot to him, and it's something that the coaches that I admire the most anyway are the ones that are able to have some flexibility and look at what they have and try to maximize what they have. I mean, you can't just keep trying to ram a square peg into a round hole if you're a square peg system guy. Like he's able to be flexible and adjust, and he was able to, I think, squeeze just about as much as he could squeeze out of this year's team. And now you're looking ahead, and like you mentioned, the recruiting class has been excellent. And not only that, it's, in this COVID era here where people can come back for additional seasons. I mean, his recruiting of these seniors who did not know Eli Drinkwitz at all, they came up under the former regime, and they obviously have liked what they've seen, because you didn't see a ton of defections from a first-year coach throughout the season. I mean, you did have some. You had some opt-outs and for COVID and various reasons, but a lot of them stuck around. And then you have all these seniors that are now saying, yeah, let's do it one more year. Your Michael Maietti types that are still going to be there. So it's that balance. I mean, we're already seeing some success on the transfer circuit at some positions of need. So I think things are trending in a really exciting direction if you're a Mizzou fan.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I thought one of the more exciting things when they did hire Drink was he was able to retain Ryan Walters on defense, because I thought, seeing in previous years, you see the little stability building with the defense. We just needed to fix the offense. So he comes in, retains Walters. I'm thinking, this is great. We got defensive guy. We got our offensive guy. We're just going to build from here. They're both young guys. And then this week, it felt like the rug was kind of pulled out from under us, and Walters ditches us for Illinois, the other team across the line from St. Louis. It kind of caught me off guard. I felt like it caught some people off guard. Is that something that you saw coming at all?
No, not really. I mean, you kind of touched on it with, where Mizzou is at as a program. And we're at a point, for me, for somebody my age, I believe the first 13 years of my life, Mizzou football had losing seasons. It was something like 84-97. And so I didn't, my expectations, I think I've been kind of scarred by that a little bit, because whenever I think about, so a coach at Mizzou football just got fired for winning as many games as he lost. That seems weird. And then but yeah, I mean, I found it surprising too, when you think about where Mizzou is at as a program, where they've got a coach who's 6-6, and that's not good enough anymore. Whereas you see where Illinois is with the run of losing seasons that they've had. So yeah, on the surface level, I was not expecting that as a landing point.
Yeah, and to take the same position, and it just came out recently too that his reasoning for leaving was he wanted to pave his own way, which makes no sense to me, because he basically had the keys to the castle on defense over there at Mizzou in the SEC, and now he wants to go work under Bielema, which is a defensive guy, and he has talked about how he wants to kind of learn from him as we go along here. So it just felt so weird that he wants to go basically operate underneath somebody again rather than have his own defense. But I don't know. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, well, my thought maybe, and this is just me guessing, I don't have inside information on Ryan Walters' decision here, but that, yeah, he was retained, and at the time I thought it made a lot of sense. And then, again, you saw a 5-5 record there, but he was not one of Eli Drinkwitz's guys. Like he was not someone who came in, and that can really be a big factor if you're someone who came from the old regime. Maybe it was something where, they tried it and it was getting to a point where it wasn't working out the best. And maybe there was a thought that, hey, if I don't make the jump, I'm going to get pushed. So, and again, I don't know that, but I think there's certainly a possibility there. Again, when you are not one of the head coach's guys who came with him, now he goes to Illinois. And I would wonder if there's more of a stability factor from his perspective, because it's like, hey, this guy wanted me here. This guy brought me here. That's going to give me a little more time to try and, pave my own way, like you said, Brian.
See, Josh, now it makes sense. He just told us.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I think that's a great point.
And I completely realized that Ryan Walters is 34 years old. That blows my mind that he is already in a defensive coordinator position at a D1. I mean, I'm not going to say powerhouse, because neither school is a powerhouse, both in a very strong conferences. And that's what was not nothing.
Yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a guy, I think by the time he's 40, I think it's pretty clear, unless he really struggles at Illinois, he's got head coach potential at some point down the road. And maybe if he can show us. Another thing too is that while Illinois is not in as good a spot as Mizzou, you can almost think of that as a positive. Whereas, hey, if I can take a 2-3 win team to a 6-win team, if I can take a lousy defense and make it an okay defense, then that's something that could look pretty good on the resume, and that could make me attractive for a head coaching job down the road.
Yeah, 100%.
I like it. A couple of years ago, we had a guy like Nick Bolton that came out of nowhere for a lot of Mizzou fans. He was a 3-star guy from Texas and didn't have a whole lot of big offers. And then he just blows up on the scene next to Cale Garrett, and he's been an All-American. And so I was wondering if you've heard about or seen for yourself anybody that maybe takes that next step coming in next fall. Because looking back, all the reporters say, well, the coaches told us this guy's Sean Weatherspoon type of guy. And it's like, oh, now I see why they said that. And so they weren't just blowing smoke up our butt. But have you heard anything about guys that maybe we're not familiar with that might take that step?
Oh, well, not necessarily. I'm going to kind of cheat and say Mookie Cooper.
Yep.
I mean, you talk about a guy who was a top 100 national recruit. He was good enough for Ohio State to want him there, and he just wasn't able to see the field on a team that's obviously loaded. But you bring him in, and I was just reading something on Rivals.com the other day where they were talking about how he had the potential to be Mizzou's Rondale Moore, the star from Purdue, and I was like, yes, please,
yes,
sign me up on that one.
Yep.
But he's got that type of explosive athletic potential, and it's at a position too where Mizzou just has not gotten production, to be honest, at the wide receiver spot or the tight end spot, really just the pass catching spots for several years now. So he has the potential, I think, to hop right in and immediately make an impact. And so he is going from zero, right? Because he was at Ohio State. So like I said, I'm going to cheat and go with him.
We talked about Brad Trinago being the Mount Rushmore of play-by-play announcer names. Mookie Cooper being a star wideout. That's got superstar power name right behind it.
The double O sounds. They're really appealing. Yeah.
Just rolls off the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Let's transition a little bit from the past Mizzou football, potentially the future. We'll see how that goes, and talk about the present in the Mizzou men's basketball team, currently ranked number 13 in the nation, probably dipping after that beatdown in Mississippi State. Came out today that they are canceling the LSU game tomorrow, or I guess Saturday. We're not real sure at this point what other games potentially could be affected by this COVID outbreak situation. But as it stands right now, they were undefeated coming out of non-conference play, and then they dropped 2 of the first 3 in conference play. So it kind of seems like we got our hopes up and we get that shine nationally a little bit. And now we're kind of maybe sipping the Kool-Aid a little bit too much, or just falling back down to earth. The inconsistency that kind of kept them from being jumping over that hump last year kind of seems to be coming back a little bit more. So my question is, how real is this team? Is it Mizzou real, where we're going to get let down in like 2 to 3 weeks and be unranked again? Or is this real where we could be seeing them dancing in March and making a run?
Well, it's a hard thing, especially in a year like this when you don't know from game to game. And as we just saw with this announcement that Mizzou basketball is on pause because of the COVID issues, you don't necessarily know game to game even which players are going to be available. So that ends up playing a factor there too. But I guess I'm not really sure how to answer that. I think Mizzou is a team that could be for real on 6 days in the spring. But with that being said, there might be like 75 teams that could be for real for 6 days in the spring. It's just so hard to tell. I mean, I think the fact that Mizzou is a veteran team is a major positive. I think the fact that they've played a lot together for a couple of years is a really big deal too, because you're going to have stretches. And unfortunately, it looks like Mizzou is going to be going into one of these where you're not going to be able to get the full team together for a significant amount of time. And then you're going to have to jump right back into SEC games. I mean, that's going to be a really challenging thing for anybody to do it. You know, I do play-by-play for women's basketball, like you mentioned, and there have been the first day of what was supposed to be practices, they had to go into a 14-day quarantine. And then right after Thanksgiving, they had to go into about a 2-week pause again for the same issues. Then they had Christmas break. And recently, a team that they were going to play, Vanderbilt, had COVID issues. So they had another week off. And so I was asking Robin Pinchton after the second long layoff, like how many weeks they'd had like 3 weeks of practice, and it was December. I mean, you think about in a typical season, when you're 3 weeks of practice into installing your systems or whatever it is, I mean, you're still in like October. Like you may be playing in a D2 exhibition game. And here she is in mid-December. They're getting ready for SEC games in a matter of a week or two. So it really, that's a long way of me saying that you don't necessarily know when you get to March where some people are going to be at in terms of their team. I mean, I use the example of the women's team, which I think is really talented.
Mhm.
but they're sitting at 4-3 right now. And I think part of that factor is that a couple of those losses, it's like, well, if they could have had a full run of practice and a full run of games, when they played Arkansas recently, Arkansas had played almost twice as many games as they had.
Yeah.
And you just wonder if things would have been different, if they would have been able to get that many games in. But that's the reality of trying to carry on during a pandemic. It is what it is, but it also means that there's even more uncertainty going into this year's NCAA tournaments than we usually have, because there might be a team that's started 4-4 and we've kind of written them off, not realizing they were dealing with some COVID issues, and then they're able to test negative for a couple months, build some continuity, and then they peak at the right time in March. So I think Mizzou is in that group where if the pandemic stars align, then they have the opportunity to be able to get there, but who knows, man.
So regardless of what they've built or not built, it's not going to matter. The March is going to be maddier than normal.
Yeah, maddier indeed. Yeah.
Just get us inside that bubble, baby. Just get us in there and see what happens.
Yep. Roll the dice. That's encouraging, but also terrifying.
Yep.
As Mizzou fans, I feel like we've built up strong defenses against these letdowns, but it seems to affect us every damn year.
Yeah. Can't rule it out.
Well, we'll kind of finish it up here with we like to end it with a little bit of a lighter side here. That's kind of what we like to stick with on this podcast. But we always do a segment called Keep, Trade, Cut, where we have a trio of options here that we always keep one, trade one, and cut one. And whatever we trade for, we always trade for something that we can bring to the table as well. We're doing that with you this time. We're doing it with past Mizzou athletes, because you're a Mizzou guy through and through, a hashtag true son, if you will. So we know you're familiar with the past, as you've mentioned. We wanted you to keep, trade, cut. You're going to pluck them from their past teams. You're going to drop them into the current teams and use the known production from these players in Chase Daniel, popping them in the Mizzou quarterback position, Jeremy Macklin, as we talked about, that kind of, I guess, not really productive wide receiver core on that Mizzou team, or Marcus Denman, known scorer, consistency, and also a very good basketball player in general. So you're going to keep, trade, and cut all three of those, and then you're going to trade for someone that you're going to also add to these teams. What do you got?
That's interesting. So if I get the game wrong, then please let me know, because I'm trying to
there's no wrong answer here. We'll roll with it.
And so what I'm thinking is, so I'm trying to think of this. I love it drives my wife crazy, because I love to game theory out like we're watching like Wheel of Fortune or something. It's like, no, you should have gone for the risk there. Your value, your potential value is good. But thinking this out in my head, so Chase Daniel plays the most important position in team sports, but you've got a guy in that position already in Connor Bazelak. And I'm not saying Connor Bazelak's as good as Chase Daniel, but he did just complete almost 70% of his passes as a freshman. And you're going to have, potentially 4 more years of him. By the way, him and Case Cook and Tyler Macon, all freshmen I doubt all of them make it to the end as Mizzou Tigers. That's a fascinating quarterback room. That's a separate a separate podcast where you have three guys who are technically the same age. That'd be pretty weird. But
we'll get you back in here come fall, and we'll have to answer that question, and then
maybe we'll get a better idea at that point.
That's right.
So he's the most valuable, and he's obviously terrific. But you already have a guy who's pretty serviceable in Bazelak. But so I can't believe I'm going to say this. So I'm going to cut Chase Daniel.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So because of what is already there.
Yep.
We are going to keep Jeremy Macklin.
Okay.
And we're going to drop him in there because, like I mentioned before, with Mookie Cooper, that receiving core needs the help. And not only the receiving core, but special teams, where Macklin was a phenomenal punt returner.
Yep.
And we saw the issues with punt returning, and it's never a good sign when Mizzou fans are like, just catch the ball. This is major college football, all right? Let's hope for a little more going forward. So Macklin obviously would provide that kind of dynamic option in special teams as well. So let's keep him. And then I'm going to trade out Marcus Denman, and I'm going to go back even before my old man time to I'm going to trade in John Sunvold, which is similar to Denman, but Sunvold, I feel like even though he's so prominent, obviously with his work on TV and things, I still feel like he might be a little underappreciated. He's a 4-time Big 8 champion. He was a first-round NBA draft pick. One season in the NBA, he shot 52% from three, and that was in the NBA. So you drop peak John Sunvold in, and that's no offense to Denman, but you drop peak John Sunvold in, who maybe the greatest outside shooter in the history of Mizzou basketball, and you put him in modern era where he would shoot that outside shot a lot more, and on a Missouri team that is desperate for outside shooting. I believe they're still below 30% from three. So I feel like he'd be a good fit there.
Plus, you might be taking pressure off of Mark Smith out there, and maybe he's just wide open and just draining threes on a consistent basis at that point.
There you go. Yeah.
I love that pick. That's really, really good. Well, that's really all we've got for you tonight, Brad. We appreciate you joining us for our interesting and ridiculous podcast and our makeshift bar games type of banter. But we do appreciate you joining us tonight, man.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to have you. I'm happy to be on with you, I should say.
Absolutely.
You pump me up so much, and I get right to the end, and then I just mutter something incoherent. It's crazy.
It's like a Mizzou punt. It's just sometimes you just muff them in the wrong time of the game, and it just happens. It just happens.
I killed the whole momentum of this thing, and I apologize. Big momentum
snap
swing.
and take a knee.
Yeah. That's right. Just call it in. Well, if any of our listeners want to go check out Brad on Twitter, he's at Brad Trinago. It's Tregnago on Twitter, but we'll tag him in this episode as well. You can definitely find all of his good work on like we talked about, Mizzou Women's radio broadcast, as well as the Mizzou Football radio pregame and halftime shows. So definitely go check that. And also on Twitter, I want to give out the shout out to the Brad's Bites. Where you basically just sit down and interview somebody that's related with the Mizzou athletics program, and your versatility is endless. I was listening to some of the play-by-play calls of the football. You sat down with the baseball program, so your versatility is very impressive. So I encourage all the listeners and viewers of the Clearing Waivers podcast to go check out Brad's Bites on his Twitter feed and on the Mizzou Tiger radio.
Yeah, it's it's at Mizzou Radio on Twitter, and then in your podcast feed, Inside Mizzou Athletics.
Okay.
And yeah, that's where you'll see a lot of that stuff pop up.
Perfect. Well, yeah, Brad, thanks again, man.
All right.
Joining us tonight again, our friend of the show, Mr. Craig Stout from ArrowheadPride.com and the AP Laboratory Podcast. Craig, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing phenomenal. The college national championship game is on, so I'm multitasking like I'm always doing, but I'm very happy to be back on here with you guys. Thanks for having me on before the playoffs. The Chiefs are going to win.
We were trying to narrow
Podcast
down.
over.
That's right. Yeah, that's all we need. Thanks for coming on. See you guys.
No problem.
We were trying to narrow down a good window to have you back on. We're like, we leave that one in the chamber until the playoff time, baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, see, I'm here. I'm here anytime. I can come in here and make my terrible predictions in week 5 if you guys ever need me to. I mean, we can save them for the playoffs and I can make them then. We'll interview you in week 5 and then we'll air it in week 9 so that it's got enough time to brew. Really be as wrong as possible.
Right,
yes.
I think the last time you were on, you said something about potentially Jalen Ramsey getting cut, and then he got extended and had one hell of a year. So we're going to see if we can top that this evening. We're going to see if we can do it. But we always enjoy having you on, and you're always a blast to talk to you. But without any further ado, let's get you back to that national championship game as quickly as we can. So let's start out here. Chiefs found out late last night that they would be playing the Cleveland Browns in the Divisional Round playoffs. So I guess at this point, how's that matchup looking like?
I mean, that's probably the best matchup that the Chiefs could have feasibly gotten. Obviously, you would have loved to see the Steelers because they were a dumpster fire to end the year. But the Browns have a good offensive line. They've got good running backs. And that's about
That's
it.
it.
I mean,
Yep.
when they lost Olivier Vernon on the defensive side of the ball, their pass rush just became a little more stagnant because it's just Myles Garrett. You can focus on that guy. And then they got nobody in the secondary that's really worth talking about. Denzel Ward is good, but not great.
Mm-hmm.
No linebackers really worth talking about. The weapons on the offensive side of the ball, it's Jarvis Landry and a bunch of tight ends. Like, I mean, they're fine. They're decent. They just not of the quality that the Chiefs can put on the field on both sides of the ball, frankly. So I don't foresee a situation where we're going to basically, I mean, it's a really good matchup for the Chiefs. Like everything the Chiefs do well, the Browns kind of do a little bit poorly, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
That makes sense.
I guess, go ahead, Josh.
We've talked about, and we've heard people talk about, and including the Chiefs players being like, well, now it's go time. And we've always kind of heard a lot of mostly internet trolls being like, they don't care about this. They're kind of sleepwalking through this. I mean, they ended the season on like 7 straight games where they were a single possession ahead. So it seems like there's some validity to it, but at the same time, I hope that's not one of these situations where they're already looking towards either Buffalo or Baltimore.
I don't think that will be the case. I think you're about to see a more keyed in version. I mean, you definitely saw down the stretch there, the Chiefs would get a big lead and just kind of coast in, especially on defense. Steve Spagnuolo was playing kind of a softer dime defense, and they just kind of coast into the end of the game. I think you're going to see a lot more finishing. I think you're going to just see a lot more variety. Offense is going to, attempt to score in the fourth quarter. That's going to be nice. And the defense is going to be able to kind of put it on these teams a little more. I think you're going to see a higher level of execution. They knew they were in the playoffs for the longest time. They knew they were in the driver's seat for the 1 seed. This is when it matters. So I think it's going to click a lot more than we've seen it down the past, 3-4 games here at the end of the year.
And I think from a human element, I mean, they all watched those games last weekend. They listened to everybody talk up all these other teams, who the MVP of the league is. No one's talking about Mahomes anymore. I mean, from a human element, I feel like these guys are chomping at the bit to go out and just destroy whoever's across from them right now.
I mean, if we're making such a big deal over Kareem Hunt's personal comment. Yeah, everybody's making a big deal over that comment. Man, ain't nobody got to worry about Kareem Hunt taking it personal. Of course, he wants to get up and play his old team. That all makes sense. We've been ignoring Patrick Mahomes from a national media perspective for far too long.
At least a month.
Oh, man, if anybody's going to take something personal, it's that guy. He's petty. Like, he's super petty. So you want to see somebody come out and be scorched earth. It's not going to be Kareem Hunt. It's going to be Patrick Mahomes against a bad Browns secondary. Like, yikes. This could get out of hand in a hurry.
I agree. And talking your preview of the matchups in general there, I kind of think I'm zoning in here on what you think would be the key matchup to watch as far as position groups or maybe one-on-one players. What do you see as being the most important thing for the Chiefs here?
I mean, they've got to do a good job up front early against the run because that Browns offensive line is one of the best in the league. I mean, obviously Chubb and Hunt are very, very good running backs. The Chiefs defense has been good in the last quarter of the season with their starters, eliminating that Week 17 game, has been good out of their base and nickel defenses, basically since L'Jarius Sneed got the majority of the snaps in the nickel. Like, he's kind of fitting the run from that nickel spot. The linebackers are looking a lot better. Anthony Hitchens looks a lot better. The defensive line's playing a lot better against the run. Like, this is a very similar matchup on paper from the talking points that it was in that New Orleans Saints matchup. Like, we were worried that they were going to come out and be able to run the ball with Kamara, kind of run over the Chiefs' quote unquote bad run defense. And the Chiefs stuffed the run, like did not allow a first down for a quarter and a half. And the Chiefs offense came out and just lit up the scoreboard as best of their ability. If that happens again, like the scales are tilted way in the Chiefs' favor in the matchup. But if the Browns can come out, if they can kind of keep the Chiefs on their heels with the run game, this could extend. Like, it could get into the third quarter and be a close game. I feel like that's realistically the spot where the Browns can keep the Chiefs within striking distance. But again, Chiefs defense comes out like it did against New Orleans, who is the best DVOA run team in the league. I mean, that's not the Browns. They're like 6th or something like that. But I mean, if they can come out and put it on it, this might be over in the first quarter, similar to how that Browns game was against the Steelers.
Well, you talk about that Saints game, and it was kind of similar in the fact that Michael Thomas was out that game. Drew Brees was just kind of ailing at that point. So they almost had to just zero in on Alvin Kamara because that passing game was going to be kaput, more or less. And with it just being Jarvis Landry out there, it seems like they could focus solely on him, maybe put a safety on, we'll put Danny Sorensen on old Austin Hooper, his old ass, and it'll be the same game plan. So I totally understand. I know you guys said on the AP Laboratory this last week that it reminded you a lot of the talking points going into the Titans game last year, but the Browns defense is a lot worse than the Titans defense was last year. So if that's the preview that we're looking at, it could be a pretty fun damn Sunday afternoon here.
Oh yeah. I mean, it is. You just got to take away that running game. The best way to take away the running game is to score a bunch of points on offense. And luckily, I mean, the Browns are 31st in deep ball defense. They're 31st in, dropbacks, shotgun dropbacks, like all of the metrics of everything that Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are elite at doing. They're like the worst in the league, and they haven't even played a team as good as the Chiefs on offense in all of those facets. It is just going to be one of those things where, yes, that offense, and everybody's going to hang on that run game. But honestly, if the Chiefs defense come up with a couple of stops, this game might be over just because of how explosive everything else is going to happen for the Chiefs offense.
I like the sound of that. Part of putting up the points is that running game on the Chiefs offense. We haven't seen Clyde Edwards-Helaire since that Week 15 Saints game. Went down in the fourth quarter with a hip injury, high ankle sprain. We're coming up on 4 weeks removed, which I think is usually the top end of where high ankle sprains are. I haven't seen any updates on how he's looking. So we thought it would be a good little exercise to put you on the spot
recklessly.
Get your estimate on his. You're going to set the bar here. It is over under on touches on Sunday afternoon for Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Okay, so for people who may not have listened to my previas appearances, on
everybody always, when Craig Stout is on the Clearing Waivers podcast, people listen up, Craig.
Okay, well they're
very aware.
With my I'm always wrong. So I'm going to say that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to play. I think that he's going to be able to come out there. I think there was optimism after they did all of their x-rays and everything, that everything was going to be okay and that he had the potential to play in the playoffs. But we're here now. And I think that he's probably going to get 15 touches. I think that's kind of where it is. And I think it's going to be mostly in the passing game. Now, I say this knowing that he full well had 4 targets a game, essentially, during the regular season. He had a couple games that was more than that, but it was basically 4 targets a game. Andy Reid did something similar with Damian Williams last year. Damian Williams averaged 3.5 last year. They got into the playoffs and he averaged almost 7. They doubled his workload in the passing game because teams were so focused on taking away Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. I think that's what we're about to see with Clyde Edwards-Helaire at the end of the year. You started to see it uptick. You started to see them using him in the pass game the way that we all thought he was going to be used in the pass game at the beginning of the year, and they just didn't. So I think you're going to see a lot of targets for him, especially against, frankly, some really bad linebackers, like awful linebackers. They're going to have to cover him in the middle of the field. I think he's going to really be able to put it on him. So I think he's going to get some volume touches in the pass game if he can go and leave kind of the between the tackles, the heavy running where he could maybe get that ankle stepped on to Le'Veon Bell. Let him kind of shoulder that load and know that Clyde Edwards-Helaire can come out there on third downs and just get the matchup that you want.
Yep. And I've liked what I've seen out of Darrell Williams the last few weeks. Give him some touches, give the old sausage some touches. I mean, just pull all the stop signs out.
I'm here for it.
Yep.
Now I feel like the playoffs for me has changed my perspective as a fan when we get the 1 seed in the bye, because when they see the playoff brackets announced at the beginning and you say, man, look at all those teams. It's like, if that team gets hot, they could be dangerous. If that guy gets hot, they could be dangerous. And then the first week happens and you look around and say, well, half these idiots already eliminated the other half of the idiots. Buddy, we only got to win 2 games and we're in the Super Bowl.
And on top of that, the ones that won didn't look particularly good doing it. And the team that did was playing the worst team in the playoffs. So you're not even that worried about them. So, it is one of those situations. As Chiefs fans, we get so laser focused on the performance of this team and peaking at the right time and finishing games and, et cetera, expecting perfection at all times. And then would you have a couple weeks off like this where you get to watch around the league and you get to watch the rest of the teams around the league and you get through to the playoffs and you're watching them and you just kind of sit back and go, you know what? Maybe we weren't so bad. Like,
you get some perspective.
Maybe we were complaining about stuff a little bit too much. So,
and then the world gifts you the Cleveland Browns. As your first of the 2 games you need to win to get the Super Bowl. So I'm going to eliminate them for this question. But the other game happening in the AFC, who's the tougher matchup there? And on top of that, who left in the NFC is a team that might give us the most trouble if we meet them up in the Super Bowl?
The AFC, I think it's pretty clearly the Bills, if only because Steve Spagnuolo he's figured out Lamar Jackson. When you've got a defensive line that's just very gap sound and everybody does their job ridiculously well, like to a fault. It's like when we were talking to Nick Leckie, who does a podcast with BJ Kissel outside the trenches. He talked about how guys like Frank Clark were the nightmare for him because they never did something wrong. You could never take advantage of the fact that they slipped up and did something wrong. And it made it impossible to do anything because he just read things correctly and you knew that you couldn't do anything to that side of the field. Well, when that happens against those teams that rely so heavily on misdirection, now all of a sudden you get a Chiefs defense that plays sound and you take away a lot of what Lamar Jackson can do to defenses. Yeah, he'll still get his every once in a while, but it's just not as explosive against a Spagnuolo defense. So I'm going with Buffalo. Josh Allen's got a great deep ball. He's playing arguably the 3rd best quarterback in the league right now. Like, he's been terrific this year. And Stephon Diggs is the best receiver in the NFL. Like,
unbelievable.
He is awesome. Like, he is scary good. Now, I still think the Chiefs can beat that team. But as I've said some other places, it's like if the Chiefs play a C game, like if it's just an off day for them for whatever reason, I think the Bills can beat them. Now, if the Chiefs play a B or an A game, they can't. But I think a mid-range game, the Bills can come up and clip them just because they have enough weapons, they have enough dynamic ability, and they can put points on a board in a hurry. That's realistically the only teams that I'm worried about there. On the NFC, it's the Packers, and it's the Packers because they use their running backs in the passing game in a way that frankly terrifies me because the Chiefs linebackers are bad in coverage. Like, we saw what happened in 2019 against that team. Like, the Packers absolutely beat up Anthony Hitchens, Ben Neiman, Damian Wilson in coverage. And it was the reason the game turned. Now, Patrick Mahomes could go on a hot streak, whatever the case may be. Devontae Adams is an elite receiver. That offensive line is really good. All of these things make for good storylines coming into that game. But the one that I would be focused on is Aaron Jones in the passing game. Like, it terrifies me against Anthony Hitchens. So that's a team that I think would give the Chiefs the most trouble in the Super Bowl.
I mean, if I'm remembering that game correctly, the Chiefs were very much in that with old Matty Moore, correct?
With Matt Moore, but I believe Devontae Adams wasn't playing in that game. So
that's a big difference. And that Packer defense is probably a little bit better. It seems like they all got their shit a little bit more together.
Yeah.
So all this leading up to the big question. I don't know if you've given this in the shot this into the ether yet, but what's your obviously think pretty highly of the Chiefs. What's the Super Bowl prediction?
I think the Chiefs are going to win it again, but I think that game is going to be well into the fourth quarter. Like, I think they're good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be as competitive as it was against the 49ers. I think the Packers can run with the Chiefs. I legitimately do. I think that they can go blow for blow. I think you'll see a lot of stops. I think you'll see some explosive plays. I think you'll see some good running because they're not particularly great against the run either. So I think they're just kind of mirror images of each other in a lot of ways. So I think that's the best game that the NFL can put on, and I think it's one that extends right to the very end. And it's probably a high scoring one too. Like, I'll go 38-35 Chiefs in the Super Bowl there. Like, just a ridiculously high scoring Super Bowl.
That's going to be a 5-hour game.
Oh, man. Oh, and I'll be a wreck for 5 hours. It'll be glorious.
Did you say erect or a wreck?
You heard me.
Yep,
Okay.
that's right. So we've jokingly we've joked all this time about your bad projections, right?
Mhm.
Come on this podcast. But you also did come on this podcast and banging the drum about L'Jarius Sneed. And you told us that he was going to take that starting job back whenever he got back from healthy. And, buddy, he's taken it and ran with it. My question now is how we know he's very good. He was so good. In fact, they just kept him out of the game where they kept all their stars out of the game last week, which is not nothing. That's a big statement to keep a guy like that.
And a rookie. Yeah.
Keeping a rookie out of a game where it's usually very valuable for a rookie to play. But how good is he right now? Is he capable? We've talked about coming up against Stephon Diggs, potentially Devontae Adams, Michael Thomas, potentially in the Super Bowl. Is he at the level yet where not take him away, but greatly limit what their usual impact is?
Oh, man. Stephon Diggs, I'm going to say no, just because Stephon Diggs is just on a different level than everybody right now. Honestly, there's a small part of me that if, I'm knocking on wood here, if the Chiefs did not make the Super Bowl, I want the Rams to make the Super Bowl just to see Stephon Diggs go up against Jalen Ramsey all day long, because I just want ISO cams of that. But I think that L'Jarius Sneed is capable of taking away Jarvis Landry, who likes to operate out of the slot. I think that he's capable of taking away almost every wide receiver 2 in the league. I still think he's got a little ways to go with his route recognition, from a guy like Stephon Diggs that can literally hurt you everywhere. Devontae Adams is the same way, but he's got the elite speed, he's got the size, and he's got the physicality, like, to do everything that Steve Spagnuolo is ever going to ask him to do from the slot, from the boundary, as a linebacker. Like, he's played all over the Chiefs defense and is the reason that Tyrann Mathieu just got another All-Pro nomination. Like, they got to move Tyrann Mathieu to more of a playmaker role. Now all of a sudden everybody grabs their attention again and he becomes an All-Pro because of what they were able to do by allowing L'Jarius Sneed to play that slot. He is a blue chip player. Like, I think that he's in the conversation for top cornerback, at least top 10 next year. Like, I think it's that soon. And I'm very curious to see if they view him as a boundary cornerback going forward, or if they want to keep him in the slot because of what it does with Tyrann Mathieu. I really honestly don't care, because he's such a weapon. Like, that man's going to have 2 interceptions in this playoffs. Like, I genuinely believe that. Like, he is just an impact player that's always in the right spot, and a rookie. Like, they get him for another 3 years on a 4th-round deal. That's a steal, absolute steal.
And I know you had done your homework on Spags when he came to Kansas City. Does he kind of the guy that will travel a corner if he's got an elite guy? Will he let him shadow the other stud receiver? Just let it line up as
it's been a little while since Spagnuolo's had a corner that was good enough to do that. Probably Janoris Jenkins. And it depended on the matchups. There were some matchups that he felt comfortable letting him travel a little bit. It wasn't all game long. And honestly, I'm saying that Bashaud Breeland followed Keenan Allen around a little bit last year. He wanted that early in the matchup. And he did okay, but he didn't follow him every single rep. There's just some reps where he will follow him. Spagnuolo just likes playing two deep safeties. And when he's playing two deep safeties, he doesn't need a cornerback that can play on an island. He'd rather have those guys keep their eyes in the backfield, be able to jump routes, get into throwing lanes. He's willing to give up the 5-yard completion, 3 times out of 5 if one of those times he can get an interception along the way. So I think that he's never probably going to have a guy that can really travel and follow a guy around, but L'Jarius Sneed is certainly close enough to that for Spagnuolo that if he decided he was going to do it out of the blue, that's your guy right there.
You got to love that.
Not too shabby for a 4th-round pick.
Yeah, not at all. Man, that man should have stayed at cornerback at Louisiana Tech. Think about the money. My goodness.
He could still make some of that money.
He will.
He'll get that on the back end. So we'll get to the shenanigans here. And it kind of goes along with L'Jarius Sneed and the rookie class here. The last time you were on, we talked about 3 guys in particular, and L'Jarius Sneed was one of them. The other one was Willie Gay, which you were very smitten with. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which was going to transform this offense, take it to the next level beyond 2018 measures. So we're going to do a keep, trade, cut with you. We're going to make you choose your favorite child in this exercise. And the caveat here is the thing that you have to take into account is that each one of them has their own separate trade compensation that's coming back in a trade. So you're going to keep, trade, and cut one of them. Sneed is going to get you a mid-first round, straight up. Willie Gay is going to get you a late second, and old Clyde Edwards-Helaire is probably going to get you an early to mid 3rd round pick. So what's the picks here?
All right, this is.
I should probably asterisk this too. Those are for the 2021 draft, so I need you to specify the player that you're going to be then getting for the pick you're getting.
Right.
If this didn't get more complicated and ridiculous as it was, it needed to get a little more.
It is going to hurt me, and you guys are going to clip this, and I'm.
Whoa, us? What?
No, yes.
What? That's not us. That's not us. That's not what we do here.
Definitely won't clip and tag them.
No.
Oh man, I hate player taggers.
Nope, we will never do that.
Not ever.
I got to keep L'Jarius Sneed. He's the cream of the crop in this. He makes the defense go. As much as I love those other 2 guys, he is fairly clearly the best rookie that they've had this year, even with the injury. His ability to do everything is shocking. Yeah. You watched him play safety and you're like, yeah, that guy's pretty good. He looks fast. He looks long. He's got decent enough ball skills, but to be able to translate the way that he has to the league this quickly, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. So I'm
doesn't seem to be afraid to tackle either, which is something that we haven't seen in a little bit.
He tackles like a safety.
Yes, he does.
Okay, well maybe that's why it's good that he was a safety.
Yeah, there you
go. I gotta cut somebody here. I'm gonna cut my guy Willie.
Okay.
And it hurts me to do it because I think it's way too early to be given up on anybody. I think that Willie Gay Jr. will be a starting linebacker in 2021, and you're going to have a little bit of a roller coaster with him because he's still learning the speed of the game and everything like that. But his impact plays are very, 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 very good. Unfortunately, Steve Spagnuolo's scheme does not need elite linebacker play to make it work. Yes, I know I just got done saying that the Packers could beat the hell out of this linebacking core in coverage, and they probably will if you see them in the Super Bowl. But the problem is they just won the Super Bowl against guys that are way better at manipulating linebackers. Kyle Shanahan is elite at doing that, and they just won the Super Bowl with that. So, I mean, from a positional importance standpoint, a linebacker and running back are 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Yeah.
I got to cut Willie Gay. And I think it's because you're going to be able to find a more willing linebacker to play the dime. I think you're going to find a guy that you can kind of slot in the way that Steve Spagnuolo wants. I don't want to trade Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I know saying all of this, if I have to trade one of them and cut one, I should take the higher one, but I don't want to trade Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think that he is going to be that guy for Andy. And I think if we were having this conversation after the Super Bowl, after we got to see postseason Clyde, that things would be a little bit different. Like his valuation would be a little bit different. Sure. But this also, because, all that said, it gives me a chance to talk about one of my favorite players in the class, Jacoby Stevens from LSU, a guy that you're probably going to draft in the 3rd round. He is a safety, but he's a 230-pound safety. And he will be playing linebacker at the Senior Bowl. He played linebacker at LSU. He played slot at LSU. He played deep safety at LSU, and he played a little bit on the boundary at LSU. So all the things that we love about L'Jarius Sneed, all the things that we love about Tyrann Mathieu, he's that level of player. Like he's that kind of guy that's going to be able to come in and play a bunch of different positions on this defense, which will help make up for the fact that you are missing Willie Gay, and it allows you to be multiple and rotate guys around. It allows you to move on from Dan Sorensen or Ben Neiman. Take your pick, because he can play either one of those positions, and you can get that kind of guy in your defense that's an impact splash player. He's not an elite athlete, but he is a guy that does everything very, very well. And I think that mid-3rd round, maybe early 3rd round, is the perfect valuation. I think that's where he's going to go. So that's why I'm trading that pick right there, just because, you could take him in the late 2nd by trading Willie Gay, but I think the valuation for Stevens is mid-3rd. So
still in the 3rd.
And I guess that kind of answers my follow-up question there. Is the guy you were describing, he sounded a lot like Isaiah Simmons, which was a no-brainer top 5 guy. But
correct.
Then you said he lacked elite, speed.
Yes, that's why he's going to go in the 3rd, because he's not a burner by any means. He's not. He's explosive, but he's not like this super long, huge freak athlete that is going to be able to line up against a Travis Kelce and be able to run with him. No, he's going to get burned by a faster running back or a faster tight end, but his ability to do everything. We see it, Steve Spagnuolo sends those guys everywhere in coverage. Like he loves having guys that can drop and kick in all over the field. So I'm seeing what he's doing with L'Jarius Sneed. I want to add another one of those pieces to this defense and just basically have him, Honey Badger, and Sneed just rotating throughout the secondary and saying to quarterbacks, good luck diagnosing what we're doing pre-snap.
Well, one of the guys that we were talking about last trade deadline was Jamal Adams. And I remember watching this Seahawks game, Seahawks and Rams this last weekend. I was just like, Jamal Adams is ridiculously jacked.
Yes.
And
he's
Stevens,
too big, arguably.
Stevens has 1 inch and 15 pounds on him.
Yes,
so that would be very interesting.
I'll tell you what, Jabril Cox and Damoni Clark are the 2 linebackers for LSU this past season. And you don't have to really distinguish between those guys when Jacoby Stevens walks down in the box. Like, who who he is on the broadcast view. You're just like, oh yeah, the giant dude. No, that's him. So no, he's really fun, and I think his stock's going to kind of skyrocket after the Senior Bowl, just because they've already said that he's going to play some linebacker there too. So I think that you're going to find some teams that fall in love with a guy that multiple.
Nice. Well, we do look forward to all the draft coverage. It's kind of already started here this last week with the bye week, having that mock draft. I didn't get to it, but I'm about halfway through it now. So I've been very much enjoying it. And you had the I can't remember his name, but the Packers writer as well on. That was very fun as well.
Yeah, Jake Morley, who does the draft guide stuff with us. He handles receivers and tight ends, so we bring him on to talk about weapons, because the Chiefs are definitely going to be adding one of those positions early in the draft. I think we've seen out of Brett Veach that he's never not going to give Patrick Mahomes weapons. So I think that's going to be the case.
Well, if we know the Chiefs have a shortage of anything, it's probably weapons. So might as well just commit to them. That's fine.
Just
fine.
keep going.
Yeah.
Score 100. Score
That's
100.
right. Let's just do this. Well, that's all we've got for you on your newest appearance on the Clearing the Waivers podcast. We appreciate. We encourage all the listeners and the viewers to go check out Craig's work on arrowheadpride.com. If you haven't already, if you like us, you're gonna really love what the AP Laboratory is with Craig and Kent and Maddie Lane, and that it's just a great all around, very, very good podcast if you're a Chiefs fan. So definitely go check out their podcast as well. All the great writers over at arrowheadpride.com do great work as well. So if you haven't checked out any of that stuff, go and do that. You can finish this episode of our podcast first, but then go check out.
Finish these guys' podcast. They were so kind to have me on here to talk about the bullshit that I'm going to talk about.
Sure,
so
sure.
Please finish their podcast.
Yeah. But all that being said, Craig, we really, really appreciate you coming on, man.
Hey, thanks, guys. Anytime. I love coming on and talking football with you guys. It's great.
Until next time, cheers, man. Like I said, great interview with those two guys. We learned a lot with Brad. It was great to get to know that dude. And then it's always a great time to talk to Craig Stout about Chiefs. Gave us some real interesting viewpoints. Both of them did, both with the COVID situation that the men's team is currently going through. We'll see how their schedule is looking going forward. We'll also see how those Mizzou recruiting classes kind of go. And then with Craig, got a great preview of the Chiefs and Browns game coming up this week. So we're going to talk a little bit of the NFL playoffs coming up. We're not going to touch that game. We feel like we got a good, we're not going to give you any better information than Craig gave us. So we're not going to touch it. We're going to let you that kind of saturate with you guys. We're going to talk about all the other happenings, but let's get to the clear the waivers here. Let's get it rolling.
We're clearing the waivers.
So we're going to talk about the wild card game, super wild card weekend round, kind of a little bit of a standout that we pulled out from that weekend of football. And I'm going to start with mine. Seemed kind of like the one thing, and this is from a fan's perspective, is that it was way more of a grind than a typical week of watching football for 2 days. I don't know if it was just the fact that there was just one game, and most of those were just boring. To put it lightly, they were just grinding of games to me. And I've heard a lot of people talk about the gap between like the top tier teams and the good, not great teams. And maybe that's what we're talking about. Maybe that's why we saw two backup quarterbacks almost pull off big upsets. And then the Browns did. But it just felt like it was just a grind. It kind of reminded me of like Thanksgiving dinner, in that you just stuff stupid face for 2 straight days. And then somebody ends up bringing dessert, and you know it's coming, and it's probably going to be gross. And that Browns and Steelers game was the dessert, and you're just like, man, I probably passed this time. And then someone brings up some awesome cheesecake or something. You're like, well, I got to do this now. This is just delightful. So seeing the Browns pull off that upset with the Steelers kind of felt like it was just a really good dessert on top of a good Thanksgiving dinner. That was what stood out to me. So I guess let's go with Rance here. Rance, what was your standout from the super wild card weekend?
I mean, besides the Browns and the shocker that they had against the Steelers, I mean, that game was high scoring. I thought it was pretty entertaining, and especially all the shit talking that the Steelers did. They got everything they deserved. But kind of what stood out to me in this game wasn't real exciting. I mean, it was just a grinded out game, was Baltimore and Tennessee.
Yeah.
I mean, we had talked on our thread throughout that whole game about, it was just baffling how, I know Tennessee loves to run the ball, and that's what they do. And that's, but they also are a high powered offense. They scored over 30 points a game this year. I mean, they've made just as many big plays in the passing game as anybody in the NFL, and they just seemed like that was not an option.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, AJ Brown is phenomenal. He's quickly becoming top 5, if not top 3 wideout in the NFL, I think. I mean, he seems like he's always open when they get him the ball, and
he's a freak, man. Yeah.
And I just did not feel, I mean, they just kept trying to pound the ball, and it just was not working. And that's what stood out to me. I mean, that game was there for them to win, because they were in it the whole time. They jumped out early, 7-0, 10-0. You thought, well, they might just run away with this game, but they just never could get it going on the ground. And then they never seemed to me to want to, or to make those big plays downfield. I mean, Corey Davis, he was not even an option, and I
Went
know he
back to
came
being
out of the
Corey
game.
Davis.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a great year. He was inexistent. So it was kind of shocking to me to see. And I know the Ravens have a decent defense, but Tennessee has scored on people all year long.
Yes.
And not to really do anything offensively whatsoever. That's what stood out to me.
They put a 40 burger on the Colts, who were their defense was far better than Baltimore. So I could totally understand. It is also hard to kind of blame them for going away from not going away from Derrick Henry, because that dude is an absolute monster. That's what he's paid to do, is you go up 10-0 and then you just feed him for 3 more quarters and ride it out. That's kind of what they did last year. Maybe he lost some tread on the tires, but it was not going this week.
No.
I feel like at some point you have to realize that rushing the ball for 1 yard a carry is a bad choice. And maybe the third quarter you figure this out. I mean, obviously they know you're going to run the ball.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly the numbers, but I gotta think they probably should have gone to play action a few more times that third quarter and fourth quarter.
Yep.
They were 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 all game long.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you run the ball for 1 yard, then 2 yards. He broke one for 5. All right, guys, we're only in 3rd and 5 this time. I mean, that was their good third down position, was 3rd and 5 all the time. So,
yep.
I don't know. I just the desire or the feel like you have to run the ball because that's your identity. It's just bizarre to me sometimes when coaches get too locked into their philosophy when it's obviously not going to work.
And you paid Derrick Henry to show up in the postseason, and you also paid Ryan Tannehill to also show up in the postseason. Didn't get anything from either one of. I think Tannehill threw for 180 yards or something super low or super Ryan Tannehill line.
He threw for 88 last year when they beat the pants
and
off
won.
of him.
Yep. Right. So if one's not going, you have to be able to rely on the other one, and you can't do that.
Yep.
You're in a lot of trouble. Kitty, what did you have another standout outside of that game?
Outside of that game, my standout was coaches making terrible punting decisions. I mean, this is insane.
Is there one in particular?
I've got 3 listed that I thought were just egregious. Egregious, I tell you. Most egregious. Titans down 13-17, 4th and 2. 4th and 2 from the Baltimore 40-yard line, 10 minutes left. You're down 4 in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
And you know what we should do? We should pin them deep. You've only given up 17 points on the day.
Yep.
And one was because Lamar Jackson's a freak and ran for 60 yards when he should have got -3.
Yeah.
Your defense was fine.
Yep.
As bad as it's been all year, defense was great that game. So you punt it to them. Oh, Baltimore down scored a field goal. Not only did they score a field goal, they took 5.5 minutes off the clock.
Mm-hmm.
That punt lost them based on the old Ben Baldwin, old computer cowboy on Twitter, was a 7.9% win percentage loss by punting.
Wow.
You just cost yourself a huge amount of time, a huge amount of chance to win that game.
Did he specify what it would have lost if they did not get it?
Like if you just go for it and don't make it, you're 7.9% better than you are punting.
Oh, is that that's what the 7.9% was? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because usually those punts don't work out. They don't coffin corner them enough, and so they get the ball. The punt averages like probably 22, 23 yards, which at that point, what's the point?
Right.
And then
you win in the end zone too, right?
That one, Duvernay, actually, I think
one?
Tomlin's went in the end zone. That was my next on my list.
Yep.
Duvernay fair caught it at the 10 or 15. So I think it was 15-yard line, 25-yard punt.
Yep.
When you're down 4 in the fourth quarter in a playoff game.
Yep.
And that was this has got to work out for us. Terrible choice. Yeah, Steelers down 12, 4th and 1, own 46. Yeah, well, that's a little tougher, but you're down 12, end of the third quarter, 4th and 1. Right at that point, Browns have put up 35 points on you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
the one defense of that is they can't run the ball. So are you trusting Big Ben's noodle arm to pick up that 1 yard?
I mean, you've got 3 pretty damn good, if not 4 good receivers you can make. Yeah. Someone's got to get open, figure out who's got the shittiest cornerback or safety on him at the line, and assume that guy can make a move and get open for a yard.
Yep.
You got to take it. And that one was a 7.1% win percentage loss.
Oh, barely got saved by the other one.
I know that. Yeah, the first one was the 4th worst punt of 2020. and the Steelers one was the 9th worst of 2020. I mean, these guys.
Those are
Great
some
timing.
numbers.
Yeah.
It's impressive. I was surprised. I was liking it. But I'm obviously I'm a huge go for it on 4th down almost all the time.
Sure.
If it's 4th and 2 or less, if you're across the 50, even if you're at maybe your own 45, just go for it.
4 down territory. Yep.
Your offense should be able to get 2 yards, especially the way the NFL has moved, where offensive players get all the calls. You can pick play all day if you want to,
Yeah.
for the most part. And if if you do get called for a pick play on a 4th and 1 attempt, oh, okay, we punt now.
Now we
Who
punt.
cares?
Yeah.
Take the chance at getting the yard with a pick play.
True story. A lot of cowardice running
Yes,
amongst
that was
the
just
NFL
a lot of
this
cowardly
year.
punts. And then the Colts punted a 4th and 5 in the first quarter, which is odd to me, only based on the later decision to go for it.
Yeah, that was very
From the
strange.
3.
That was weird for a
one to
lot of
me
reasons.
was a weird back and forth of 2 decisions that seem opposite of each other.
Yeah. Aggressive and
were.
then too conservative at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That was that go for 2 on the 1 yard line after lining up to kick it was a weird decision. It set Twitter ablaze for sure. So
Definitely.
I think when Twitter universally agrees with something, it's usually a
that
was very
and I'm a huge go for guy, but I think they should have kicked the field goal up 10-7.
Mm-hmm. I
That's
think
one of the
that's fair.
few.
So Kitty saw a lot of yellow out there on the
A lot
field
of
this
bad coaching
weekend.
decisions. But
Brian, what was your
get rid of Vrabel, get rid of Otamo. Get him
Just
out of
get
here.
him
Get
out.
him
Frank
of
Reich,
here.
just fire him.
Or hire a 4th down decision maker on your sideline.
Yeah.
That
Or
seems
they just
smart.
get
Someone like
full
you.
absolute. Yeah.
I'm available.
I don't think they need to hire anybody. It just says, what down is it? 4th? You need, just go for it.
Just go for it.
Just go.
We got this guy in this
What's-
department. He's a 4th down specialist. We got to fly him out here.
He knows what he's doing.
That's
But
that's where Stefanski was when he was watching his game. So, I mean, great things can happen. Great calls can be made from the basement of somebody's apartment.
He only makes one call, and it's always thumbs up.
Yep.
I just put a poster up of me, like my computer's frozen. I just go and do other random shit I want to do.
Here's your invoice. Brian, what was the standout from the wild card weekend to you?
Well, first of all, we did a victory lap with Jarius Sneed and Craig Stout. So I want to do a victory lap. We make
Okay.
terrible calls on this show. But I went back to week 5. I told you the Seattle Seahawks were frauds. They would win 12 or 13 games and be on upset alert early in the playoffs. And
Yep.
by God, they lost to a thumbless quarterback team because they stink. They've got one legit weapon that if you can kind of slow him down and limit him, that offense becomes very pedestrian.
Mhm.
And Aaron Donald was in his face all freaking day, it seemed like. He is such a monster.
Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, Metcalf shook loose on a couple of scramble plays and gained a couple of kind of junk touchdowns, really. But Ramsey was on his ass like glue, like usual. I mean, they stink, and I told you that, so I'm just going to say that. But my takeaway was the game I talked about a lot last week, and that was Colts-Bills. The Colts played the better game. If you watch that game, the difference was Josh Allen. They had the better playmaker. The better team. I didn't feel like won that. If you look at the box score, it's ridiculous. Like the Colts outgained them on the ground, through the air. Their 3rd down conversion, Indy was 53%, Buffalo 22%.
That's
There were
wild.
there were no turnovers that you're going to count this for. Time of possession was 34 to 25-ish in favor of Indy. I mean, they played the game they wanted to play, it seemed like. It's just Josh Allen and Diggs are just too good, and they made too many plays. And that really stuck out to me that the Bills, I feel like, really got outplayed in that game. Didn't cover, but they won.
Yeah, I think I keep seeing after all that's said and all that's being said, there's still so much praise for how good the Bills team is.
Mhm.
And I was on the record saying Josh Allen's a fraud, and I would like to walk that back a bit. I may have been a little wrong in that.
I'm
This
with
is
you,
one
Josh.
of those wrong takes that we did, but
I'll be on that hill with you.
One of many
Okay.
wrong
I'll
takes.
one of many wrong takes that Brian
I'll
was
stay on top of that
inferring.
hill with you, Josh. We're good.
Okay.
We're good. Me and you.
It was a very good game, but it does seem like the Bills are still getting a lot of praise, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit if the Ravens put put them down this year. I think the Ravens could very well do that. But again, if they couldn't do it against that gross Titans defense, I don't know if they're going to be able to do it against the average Buffalo defense. So we'll see how it goes. We'll move on to the divisional round playoff. I've kind of given you guys each a game to kind of break down here. We're starting with Kitty. Kitty's going to take down the Rams and Packers, lining up Green Bay. Packers are 6.5-point favorites last I saw. Looking at the team combined DVOA, the Rams are 9th and the Packers are 3rd. I think that's DVOA across the offense, defense, and special teams. So, Kitty, give us a little preview of the Rams Packers. What are we expecting here?
Yeah, I mean, it should be basically it's a battle of strengths.
Yep.
Packers O-line versus that Rams D-line. Did
Yep.
some couple looking today a little bit, and Green Bay, I did a little, it was ESPN stat, win or pass block win rate.
Mhm.
And 3, obviously there's only 2 left, but 3 of their Green Bay's tackles are in the top 10, 2 guards in the top 10, and their centers in the top 10. These guys, when Aaron Rodgers goes back to pass, they give him time.
Is that including
doesn't
Bakhtiari, though?
Yeah,
Bakhtiari was the one. So there's only 2 of their tackles. They still have 2
Yep.
tackles in the top 10. I mean, they still have basically they have a full offensive line without injury that is top 10 in block win rate during pass blocking. So I mean, it's definitely strength for strength. So that should be a real impressive matchup to watch. Hopefully Donald, I haven't looked too closely if he's healthy and ready to play, ready to go after that looked like a rib injury. So that's a huge matchup. And then you got Ramsey against Devontae Adams.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Ooh, that should be a fun one. I feel like
when we were talking to
Devontae will
Craig,
get the-
he was talking about wanting to see Ramsey line up with Diggs because he thinks Diggs is the number 1 wideout in the league. I
Okay.
mean, getting Ramsey versus Adams is also a very, very interesting matchup.
Adams is definitely his 5th at worst wideout in the league. He's might not be number 2 or 3. I mean, he's fantastic.
I think he'd probably
He's got to be top 3, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Just watching, I mean, they've broken it down a few times when watching Sunday Night Football about his breaks off the line, just how he jab steps and dummy steps just to get separation off the line if they're jamming him. So it's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
I feel like you should almost go the Bill Belichick route, but I don't think the Rams will do it, where you put Ramsey on the number 2 wideout and then you bracket the top wideout.
Yeah.
Right.
Always double team Adams constantly with someone close and a safety rolled over the top or a nickel defender, and then just have Ramsey play their Lazard or Valdez Scantling and shut that guy down instead.
I bet I know what Ramsey's vote is.
Ramsey wants to be on Adams.
He wants that dude.
But I think Belichick is a way smarter approach to it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of logic to it.
Sure. Yep. I'm that's one of the games I'm looking forward to. It has the second largest spread between all the games this weekend. The Chiefs are 10-point favorites last I saw. So it's going to depend on what's going on at quarterback for the Rams. We'll have to see.
Yeah, that's
I can't believe you did a Rams preview without bringing up your boy.
I'm a little hurt that John Walford got cheap shotted, knocked out of the game.
Yeah,
Just
that looks scary.
Cheapest of cheap shots. That's ridiculous. That guy should be out of the league for cheap shot, and John Walford like that. Out of control.
It's tough. It was
ridiculous.
a brutal hit.
I had to drink heavily on Saturday.
Good.
All because
to
of
ease
that.
your pain.
Yeah,
That's
Ease
you
what
my
were
pain of
really
John
bummed out
Walford getting
about
hurt.
that too. I mean, he lasted all but 4 minutes
Exactly.
and then blown completely up.
Yep. And then they told Goff to go earn his paycheck.
And on that play, if Walford had just turned left and ran, he had daylight for days.
Yep. I guess
well.
he's just not a very mobile quarterback.
Oh, how dare you!
Not very
Dare
aware.
you,
it
just
looks
this
like to
Walford
me.
slander will not stand.
Needs a better eyes to get to those.
Very unaware.
Yep. Let's move on to the next game here with the Ravens Bills. Brian, you kind of talked a little bit about the Ravens and with the Titans and Colts. No, sorry, the Bills and the Colts from last week. So I'm hoping you can give us a little insight on this game. Bills are 2.5-point favorites. Their combined DVOA is number 1, according to Football Outsiders. Ravens are 7th in the DVOA category of combined teams. So what's this game going to look like, and what do we need to look for?
Well, I think the Bills' offense is going to be able to put up points. I don't see the Ravens really shutting them out by any means, but I think the game comes completely down to being able to contain Lamar and keeping him in the pocket, making him throw the ball, because we saw against Tennessee, like they did a good job. Then you fail and he's gone and it's 6, or he's gone and it's inside the 10. I mean, he's such a game wrecker when you lose track of him or somebody slips. Something like that, he can eat up 80 yards in an instant, and everything that you've done before that doesn't matter anymore. So it is all about keeping him in the pocket and contained. And if they can do that, I think the Bills probably win fairly easily because I think they're the better overall team. But it's just he is such a difference maker and such a wild card. He's terrifying to play against just because he's such a game changer when you do make a mistake and he gets by you. And we saw him make one of the worst throws you'll ever see a quarterback make in the NFL, and then he dropped 2 dimes right after that. And so you'll take your chances of him through the air, making a mistake or not hitting the guy consistently enough to score, put up a lot of points. So I trust the Bills' offense at this point to put up some points. Josh Allen can run around and make plays. You just hope you don't get drunk Josh Allen moments in the playoffs that we kind of talked about previously, where he just loses his mind sometimes when he's scrambling around and just stops thinking about things.
He had one of those moments. That was the first touchdown of Dawson Knox. He's like falling down and just flipped it out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What
a throw.
Did he do that again? I can't remember if that was the game or if it was Lamar Jackson who did it. Just hung his running back out in the flats, just kind of flipped it to him. I can't remember which game that was. But
that was Lamar Jackson, where the guy was on the ground already and they were running a 2-minute offense into the first half. Yeah, like, just throw that near him, not
just
to him.
Get it done. Yeah, just get down or don't do that, basically. So drunk moments are coming.
They could.
Yes, this game could be really interesting if there's a little bit of pressure on the QBs and they try to do a little too much being in the this next round of the playoffs.
Knowing that each one of them has to score to keep up with the other one, I think is going to be those drunk moments are coming.
They both got their wins that they haven't had yet, so they've both got the playoff wins now. Like, all right, it's free. I can do whatever I want now. So
loose.
And
could be interesting.
I mentioned in the chat prior to this to recording here that it could be a snow game. So
yes, I saw that. There's a possibility.
Let's just do this. Let's just start it right now.
Please,
I'm
snow
ready.
Game. I mean, Buffalo, mid to late January. It should, as sure as hell, should be a snow game.
Agree.
Yep.
Lake effect better be dumping 16 inches at least.
That's right. Oh, that could be so much fun.
Let's go on to the final game here. Bucks and Saints. Rance, you got this one. Saints are 3-point favorites. The Bucks are second in DVOA. And I've also got the Saints are third, I think is correct, in DVOA. So it should be a solid game. What should we look for in this one?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about both offenses. I mean, they're both averaging close to about 30 points a game, been real, productive all year. I think the Saints right now, at this time of the season, they might be as healthy as anybody in the NFL as far as their skill guys. I was looking at their injury report today. They've only got a couple guys that are questionable. They're pretty healthy at this moment. Tampa comes in pretty hot. They've won 5 in a row, but the Saints have owned them this year. Tom Brady's thrown 12 picks. 5 of them have been against the Saints.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
In the first matchup, he only threw for 239. Second matchup, when they got absolutely dog stomped, 38-3, he only threw for 209. I mean, the Saints have a pretty good defense. I mean, I know they gave up, quite a bit against the Chiefs, but I think that defense played as good against the Chiefs as about anybody has all year, honest to God.
Yep. Punched them in the mouth multiple times.
I mean,
quite literally sometimes too.
They're the Saints are 8th in the league in sacks. They got 45 sacks this year in the regular season. They're 5th against the pass. Like I said, Tom Brady has really struggled against them. The Saints have won 5 in a row against Tampa, over the past couple seasons. And Tampa has the best rush defense also, too. I mean, you talk about the offenses, but I'm looking at the defenses a lot. Tampa's got the best rush defense in the NFL. The Saints love to try to run the ball. They've really kind of switched their style, over the past couple of years with Breeze not being able to throw the ball down the field and being injured. The Saints are they're top 5 or 6 in rushing. too, about 140 yards a game.
Sounds right.
So
Kamara had a
as a
huge year.
team, yeah. So I'm looking there at the defenses. Like I said, I don't know that they got Tom Brady figured out, but they got to be in his head a little bit because they really have played him well as a unit. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I mean, and just the fact you can say whatever you want to get for Brady and Breeze, but you're seeing a matchup that you're not going to see very often against two, five of the, top 5 best quarterbacks that probably ever played the game. And then you'll get one next week when Rodgers, hopefully if, Rodgers wins, then you might get another one. But, that's going to be fun because you don't get to see that kind of match at all.
For sure. You have a bunch of old farts on the NFC side and then a bunch of young ones on the AFC side. I think they said Baker Mayfield is the oldest quarterback remaining in the AFC. Wild to think about.
That's an insane stat. If you had told me that before the year started, that last 4 teams in the AFC with Baker be the oldest.
Yep,
that's crazy.
And
you probably figure out who it was, but
you probably would have thought Deshaun was involved in that then at that point. Maybe Joey Burrows.
I never would have thought they were not. But it's been nice to think. It's nice to think about, not nice to believe.
When you get into the AFC, you don't. There's really nobody as quarterback very old except for Roethlisberger. You really don't. I can't. Rivers. I was trying to think of Rivers.
Just Rivers and Roethlisberger.
But Watson's young. Herbert. Guys like that. I mean,
even Carr's now an older statesman, basically.
Yeah, considered vet. Yeah, I think he's got a lot of wear on those tires for as long as he's been in the league. But you talk about that Saints defense, and we were talking to Craig about the toughest matchup for the Chiefs remaining in the whole field. That's kind of who my mind goes to, because just what happened in the regular season, that defense is just nasty. And now they kind of have, like you mentioned, the Saints are one of the more healthier teams with Kamara, Michael Thomas, Drew Brees is all back. They got all their weapons there. Barring any kind of injury, I think the Saints definitely could line up with anybody remaining in this field and take it any given Sunday for the most part. So I think it's certainly going to be an interesting watch to see all these games. I don't really see a bad game outside of maybe that Rams-Packers game. I think the Browns could make it interesting, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, that's the game I lean towards as not being the good one.
Right. They're a 10-point spread right now, so makes sense. But we might talk about that later. We'll see how things go here. Let's get into the shenanigans for the week. We're going to skip the DFA and Keep Trade Cup. We're going to get right into the waiver wire draft here. There's a decent chance that there's plenty of people joining us for this episode that probably haven't listened to us before. Once again, welcome. We're going to do this draft that we do every week. We draft something new every week. And this week, we kind of sat on this topic for just a special episode because it's a topic that is surprisingly near and dear to our hearts. It's snack cakes, potato chips, and Rom Coms is probably the order of priority in our hearts. So we are drafting our favorite Rom Coms for the week. We're going to do 4 rounds, snake draft type. The order is going to go Brian, Kitty, Rance, and then myself. And we're just going to give our pick and why it's our pick. And hopefully we'll still be together as a podcast afterwards. We'll see how it goes. But Brian, go ahead and start off with 101.
101. And I mean, I'm
already shaking my head.
The definition of rom-coms, I mean, can vary from person to person, but I'm pretty sure my 101 is firmly in everybody's mind as being rom-com, and one of the go-tos, 2008, Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Yep.
My 1-1.
Undisputed.
When that movie comes on, it doesn't matter what point it is, I'll finish it out because there are great lines all throughout that movie. Paul Rudd has a low-key great character. And there's Kunu or whatever his name is.
Kunu, the surf instructor.
You sound like you're from London.
There are not many cameos where somebody has a 100 batting average when they come in. And Paul Rudd just cranking home runs every time he talks in that movie.
Yep.
My other favorite person in there, Jonah Hill as the waiter. Just kills it as the waiter of the hotel's restaurant that they're staying at, the resort's restaurant. It's so good.
A soccer fan of all the snow.
Yep.
Yes.
Exactly.
And Russell Brand's amazing, I think. I mean, I'm
Russell
not
Brand
a
does a
real big
great
fan
job
of
in
his,
that.
but he is awesome in that movie.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Just the persona of that character is so good.
All
the snow.
And all this is to say that we haven't even touched on Mila Kunis and Kristen Bell, who are both fantastic in there. They're both a riot in that movie.
Kunis has never been better.
Bullshit.
Oh, you want ominous.
Dun, dun, dun. Then he goes like the Seinfeld theme for a CSI show. Hey man, I got tickets to what
Allman Brothers. I got Allman Brothers tickets. I gotta get out of here.
And that opening scene where he's like in his sweats and he's pouring cereal into like a gigantic punch bowl, like that kind of hits a little too close to home for us guys when we're watching that from the beginning.
Good for you, Pete. Good for you.
That just reminded me of going to the dorms and you have the full meal plan, so you got to go get breakfast. Oh, I have 18 to 20 cereals I can choose from, and the massive salad bowl I can do these stupid small cereal bowls they give us. I'm now having a salad bowl full of cereal for breakfast. Thank you, dorms.
Sneaky dorm love there. I didn't see that coming in the Rom Coms.
There's a dorm life hack for you guys.
Shout out to college kids if you ever get to go back to school. Check out the cereal bar. Goat. I think that's the GOAT rom-com. I think that's 101 with a bullet. Kitty, what's your first pick?
I have a different 101. Love it. Can't get enough of it. One of the stars. We've lost too soon, but I'm going to go with 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah, you are.
Just a phenomenal movie. I mean, it's so good. Heath Ledger, Julia Stiles, a young Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Well, for him, it's not young. It's like mid Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
I think it was. I mean, it's after 30 Rock from the Sun. Sure, I wouldn't call that mid. It's still early.
30 Rock from the Sun.
Still early.
Third Rock.
Starring Tina Fey and John Lithgow.
Tina Fey and John Lithgow. That's right.
Larry Miller as the dad is awesome in that movie too.
He plays perfect dad of teenage girls.
Yep.
Just every line he says is perfection.
Makes her wear the belly.
Put on the belly. And then at the end of that scene, when Heath Ledger comes to the door to pick her up, just throwaway line, "Who knocked up your sister?" I mean, it's a great line. Just so much good stuff from that movie.
Yeah.
The scene at the football stadium where he's singing to her.
That's classic. Yep.
Just Bogey Lowenstein's party. Everyone's getting a little too drunk. That is
Lowenstein.
Such the perfect encapsulation of Hollywood high school party.
Yep.
Look how cool this
I've ever
is going to
seen
be.
that.
Look how cool this party is, and then when you actually go to a party, it's like
not even close.
Really as cool as that movie made it seem it was going to be.
Speaking of that, I watched Project X, revisited it last week, and it's just ridiculous. Just ridiculous.
Right. I remember seeing clips of it, but never saw the full movie.
Yeah.
But I also want to go to that paintball place where I don't really need to shoot guns, but paintball with water balloons, I can get behind that.
Get
some teams together. Get some teams together. Not just one-on-one. I don't need guns.
Unbelievable.
I'm more of a grenade thrower than a machine gunist.
If you're going to call it grenades and not the Nerf balls that they are, right? You're going to call them grenades?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure. Rance, what's your first pick?
When I first saw this category, I wrote this down first. I'm glad I'm getting it. And it's Something About Mary, man. God, I love that movie. Ben Stiller, Matt Dillon, Cameron Diaz. Great part by Chris Elliott as Dom Woganowski.
Woogie.
Oh, Woogie breaking out in hives. Stiller plays Ted Stroman. I mean, there's so many. I mean, Matt Dillon's Pat Healy character is hilarious. The way he dresses, he's a sleazeball. All I got is these damn Nepalese coins. You out here? He likes. Yeah, I like to swing the wrenches every once in a while when they're hitting
The
golf balls into the water. I mean, it's just great. Couple nice cameos. Brett Favre's in there.
Yep.
In town to play the Dolphins, you dumbass. And I mean,
the old lady landlord.
Magda.
So good.
Magda's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
The pizza delivery guy that plays the architect with this fucking too.
Norm when he's
Isn't
on
he,
crutches and then he just tosses the braces into the car and hops in.
Yeah. Well, I think this
Name's
Patrick
Norm.
Healy fellow might be full of shit, Mary.
Oh yeah.
It's been a while since I've watched that. It's been a long time.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
To revisit
Oh, then
that.
you got the guy that played Meatloaf in the movie. That's the Warren with the old
Oh yeah, Warren's in it. Franks and
about
Beans.
the baseball.
Yeah.
Franks and beans from the baseball.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's
Okay.
great. Go
Yeah,
back and check it out. I mean, it's been out a while. I mean, it was 83% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Probably
People
got
love
a
it.
Wow.
It's been a
Farrelly
little while, so
Brothers.
it might have some jokes that don't age very well, but I think the overall tone works pretty well still.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
Pretty
there's
good.
I have a
jokes.
few in my head I already know that don't age well, but get those in here.
Yep.
I'm going to start my rom-com venture with The 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Mhm.
Steve Carell, awesome. I mean, I'm a big Office guy, so Steve Carell is always top notch. But I mean, the supporting cast in that is top notch as well. Jane Lynch is great in it as the Best Buy floor manager. Paul Rudd might be one of my favorite Paul Rudd parts that I've seen him in. Awesome. He's great in it. But it's got a lot of heart. It is 2 hours and like 15 minutes long, so you gotta hang on for that last half hour. But it is an Apatow film, so that's where we are.
It's good.
But I love me some 4-Year-Old Virgin. Good rom-com.
Seth Rogen was in it before he really, was
All
anything.
tatted up.
Him
And what is the other guy that worked in the
Romany Malco.
Black?
Romany
Oh my
Malco,
God, he
He
was
is awesome.
fucking great.
He was
He's so
great.
good in that.
When they had that interaction with Kevin Hart before you knew who Kevin Hart was,
Yes.
I just realized that a few days ago that was Kevin Hart he was arguing with.
Uh-huh.
And that interaction, that is one of the funniest parts in the whole movie, I think.
Mhm.
Yes.
That back and forth between those two.
If I hear Yamo be there one more time, I'm gonna Yamo blow my brains out.
Elizabeth Banks in a nice role as the crazy person
Oh
that
yeah.
works at the bookstore.
And I
Do
kind
you
of
like to do it yourself?
I kind of talked
Like
to you
that.
about it too when I was putting this list together, but we've kind of already included some of the guys in the running for Kings of
Oh, yeah.
rom-coms.
Yes.
We've got, Paul Rudd's in the running, Jason Siegel's in the running, Steve
Yep.
Carell, Seth Rogen is in surprisingly
A
lot
lot.
of
Yep.
rom-coms. So I mean, that's another discussion to be had maybe later in this draft, but
Yep.
we've already covered a few of the guys that are in half the list, I feel like.
Yes.
Good. When they're sitting also at that speed dating and that lady goes, I'd like to tuck your sack back, put a little rouge
China.
on you.
China. And then when they're walking out and Seth Rogen just, I liked a lot. Gina.
China.
Just another great throwaway line is just not.
Yeah.
Let's hope maybe people laugh at this. Maybe people remember. And it's just a great line.
I'm gonna go with my second pick. Might not be a traditional rom-com, and this could be where divide here, but I got Role Models as a rom-com in my draft with Paul Rudd, another Paul Rudd joint, Sean William Scott, also Elizabeth Banks in that one. But we talk about a supporting cast in 40-Year-Old Virgin. Role Models supporting cast might be even better. Also, Jane Lynch, my favorite role for her. Ken Marino, also very, very good. Ken Jeong. Joe Latrulio is great in it. It's just McLovin also very, very good in it. So Role Models, maybe not your
How was
typical.
that?
I would. It's a
Where's the love
stretch.
interest?
It's a stretch.
Paul Rudd and Elizabeth Banks.
Very big stretch since they're not the two main characters.
You're
pushing the boundaries. You're very,
they're
very,
important.
very, very.
It's important to the story at the end of the story that they work it out. And spoiler alert, they do.
It isn't important.
It is important
And
because
Stifler's in that, and they sell
Stifler's
like
great in
energy
it.
drinks or
Yep.
something.
Yeah.
Minotaur.
Minotaur.
Even if Paul Rudd's song doesn't work at the end, the movie doesn't change one bit.
Maybe he probably goes to jail though.
Yeah, so just forgive him. Doesn't have to get back together with him anymore. So
Well, if she doesn't forgive him, she's not going to represent him. Obviously,
If he never sees her whispering eye again, it'll be okay.
Josh picked a
Whispering
LARPing
eye.
movie. I'm shocked.
LARPing. Yeah, I forgot about that part.
That still would be a
Ken
blast.
Marino's the stepdad, right?
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
And Carrie Kenny's the mom. I love. Like, that's another rom-com staple. People that used to be on The State from MTV.
Yep.
Because David Wayne seems to direct a lot of these.
Yes. David Wayne is also in that movie.
Yeah, he's out there quite a bit. Now that little kid's hilarious.
Ronnie. He is
You
great.
like? You Ben
Ben
Affleck.
Affleck.
So good.
Back to Rance for a second pick.
Yeah, I thought this one might go, but my second pick is Wedding Crashers, man.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
you
we're
know, it
talking
doesn't
about the
really-
same thing.
It doesn't start off as
There's
really
two
a
romances
romantic,
in this one.
but when it hits the middle, you know it's a rom-com because Owen Wilson's character is going after Christopher Walken's daughter. He's the Secretary of Treasury. What's her name?
She has
That's
a
the
name
main-
too.
That's the main crux of the whole thing is that
Gosh, what
Owen
is that?
Wilson's going
Rachel
after the
McAdams.
one going after the
Rachel
girl.
McAdams.
Rachel McAdams, Bradley
It was just a
Cooper,
delight.
when he first gets started. That's a great character for him.
Yep.
Mhm.
Just leveling them in the football game.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, I love
Oh,
that
the sack
football
lodge.
scene.
Sack lodge.
Sack
When I-
lodge.
I love, when Vince Vaughn's playing quarterback back and he's saying,
Hot route.
hot route, and he's kicking his leg.
I don't know what that means.
And the little dorky emo son, Todd.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Todd.
that's great. Walking, you can't beat it.
Jane
Jane
Seymour.
Seymour?
Absolutely.
Woo.
Seymour's
I'm in.
Yeah.
She's
I'm
back.
in for Jane. I'm in for Jane Seymour.
Gosh, she's a bombshell.
Isla
age
Fisher.
whatever she
Awesome. Awesome in that role,
Isla
too.
Fisher is awesome. Also, yeah.
So
The first 10 minutes of them just
Dwight Yoakam at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
No, you
The
shut
first-
your mouth.
the first
Shut
good
your
old
mouth when
was
you're
about
talking to me.
10 minutes of that movie of them running roughshod over weddings.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
How good they are. Just it's so good.
Can you guys just stop talking for a while? Kitty, we're back to you.
Yeah. Got another great one for me. I'm going with a little Bill Murray, Andy McDowell, and some Groundhog Day.
Mm.
Oh,
We
I love
figured
this
we
movie.
figured you'd go old movies, but that's a little older than we thought you'd go.
rom-com?
How was that not a rom-com, Rance? The whole second half of the movie is him trying to get Andy McDowell. If he doesn't get her, he can't get out of Groundhog Day. Rom-com. Come on, were you ridiculous?
That movie stinks.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'll
My
say it stinks
apologies.
too.
Go
Whoa.
ahead.
Groundhog Day
let him go.
slander?
Let him go.
Groundhog Day slander from the Kaiser Bros?
I mean, we're talking about a top 16 of rom-com. It's a powerhouse category, and you're bringing a featherweight to the heavyweight ring.
I watched it like 6 days ago.
You want a
This movie's
medal?
amazing.
I watched Project X, and you don't see me talking about it. I
Yeah,
did
because it's a
talk about
trash movie. I mean, you drafted the 4th round like a bum you are.
it. Well,
Groundhog Day. Come on. Ned Ryerson. Oh, watch that first step. It's a doozy.
uh-huh.
I mean, come on. I cannot believe I'm getting nothing from anybody
No.
on a
No,
Bill
pass.
Murray movie.
On an island here.
You guys are crazy. That's the worst. That's the dumbest.
Flush that turd.
Groundhog Day is no good.
Flush that
Crazy.
turd is what
You are
Brian said.
crazy. Crazy. I don't like this at all. I don't like this at
That one
all.
did not have. That one definitely was not on my list.
Not on my list.
You guys'
Probably
lists suck.
Probably could have got that in the 4th. Brian, you're up for
All right.
second and third pick.
So let's get back to actual good movies, guys. I'm going 2004.
Ate it.
Along Came Polly. It's everybody
Yeah.
would qualify it as a rom-com.
Yeah.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, he's had a lot of great roles, but Sandy Lyle character is my favorite for sure. When he
Get on board
sharts
with
in
that.
the elevator,
Mm-hmm.
when he's playing basketball, is one of the most disgusting and hilarious scenes you'll ever see in a movie. I mean, that when the diving instructor Ruben,
Ruben. Yep.
I mean, that's a great role for him
Scuba.
for scuba.
Was
Never
that?
seen that start to finish.
That's Hank Azaria, right?
Yes, it is.
Nice.
It's always
Ooh, he
Hank
got
Azaria.
jacked for that too.
He's
He looked
shredded.
great.
Yep.
Huge.
That
He got huge.
low key, great scene in that was when he's come back from his vacation. He's moving into his house for the first time, or he's walking in, and the security guy pulls up, and he's got his bullhorn or whatever, and he said he kind of like announces himself, and as he's driving away, he goes, "Sorry, Ruben. Sorry about your wife, Ruben." Like even that guy knows that he's just moving into this neighborhood, and that guy's calling him out.
Are we putting Philip Seymour Hoffman's role in that higher than Dusty from Twister?
Oh,
Because that's very good. That's very good as well.
That's a
Never
great
seen
pull.
that either.
Oh no.
Oh, we
I mean,
do
if you're
need
gonna,
to.
Philip
Can you
Seymour
have-
Hoffman, his best role is in oh my god, I just had it with Mark Wahlberg, Dirk Diggler,
Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights.
Yeah,
Philip Seymour Hoffman's amazing in that.
yeah.
That is not a rom-com.
not a rom-com.
Not at all.
No,
Not at all.
not a rom-com. We talked about this in the past, but we need Kitty. I'm gonna have you make a list of movies that like you think that people think you should have seen by now,
Mhm.
and then we're gonna compile that, throw it in movies that people should see by now, and we're gonna try to figure out which ones you haven't seen. That game's coming at some point, but not right now.
We could just do a draft of movies I haven't seen. You guys can take turns.
Just
picking
berate
movies.
you.
What order I should see these fucking movies in?
What's the worst? Yeah.
Brian, you're starting us off the third round.
Okay, I'll go a little controversial on this one because I don't think anybody qualifies this as a rom-com necessarily, but it qualifies in my brain.
Forrest Gump.
Nope. Saving Silverman.
I have it on my
Oh!
list. I got it on my
Yes,
list.
that's
I mean,
a
I
great
think
one.
Most people probably think it's just a comedy.
I forgot how great that one was.
It
Yep.
could be difficult to get your wife to sit down and watch the whole thing with you.
Yes.
They don't appreciate the humor sometimes. So maybe it doesn't qualify as your typical rom-com, but laughs from start to finish
Mhm.
with the guys, I guess. So
That's a guy rom. That more of a guy
Yeah.
rom-com. Yeah.
Yep.
yep, I think that falls in with like the probably the 40-Year-Old Virgin and Wedding Crashers. It's more of a guy humor type thing than a romantical side.
Probably.
When you put the scale up here, it leans heavily towards comedy instead of romance.
That is just one of the fun. Jack Black and Steve Zahn just were apparently told, do whatever the hell you want.
Be
And
awesome.
they should have been in
And it
another
was-
movie together somewhere
Oh, for
along the
sure.
line. Like just
It
a
was-
spin-off movie where it was just those two, J.D. McNugent and what was
Yeah, I went to-
Zahn's character?
I can't remember
What was
his
his name?
Crazy Wayne. Cowboy Wayne. Cowboy Wayne.
Cowboy Wayne.
Yeah, I went to
Exterminator or whatever.
I went to
Not
SU.
S.
Oh, Stanford. Oh, Subway University.
Subway University. Don't forget Arlie Ermy, one of the all-time
Arlie
performances
Ermy. Oh
as
my
well.
God.
You ate her.
Hater.
That's a
Perfect
hell of an
crime.
idea. That's a hell of an idea.
Good thinking, boys.
They list off their problem to him, and he goes, "That it? Kill her."
Killer.
We can't kill her, Coach.
Why not? You're Wheaton
you
Warbird.
can-
You get anything you want.
Yeah, I forgot about him. That was
He went to
hilarious,
jail for
too.
throwing the yard marker through
Uh-huh.
the ref's heart.
I remember it's me, J.D. McNugent. I burnt my sack on a Bunsen burner.
Burner. I painted my whole body for the prom. Paint started to run. Everyone can see my dong.
Nope.
Yeah, I would say that there's not just females that don't find that funny, but we learned that critics also did not find that funny with their
Yeah, they
was it
hated it.
7% or whatever it was.
I mean, they absolutely were disgusted by it.
They
Yeah,
got Neil Diamond. How could it be a bad movie?
true. Yep, diamonds in the rough forever.
Yeah.
Kitty, third pick.
All right. I'm going to go a little controversial.
More controversial
More
than
so than my second
Groundhog
pick.
Day.
All right. Rance, you're on the list too now.
You're ready to list.
This is a movie that inspired one of our co-hosts for a Halloween costume.
Oh, I saw this.
And I'm going to go with Youth in Revolt.
Yep.
Oh my God. Oh, Michael Cera. What
Never
a
seen it.
tour. What a tour de force in this movie.
Mhm.
Just amazing. Creates the alternate persona, Francois Dillinger, just to be a complete dick all
That
the
is a
time.
funny name, though.
Oh my
Yes, it
God,
is.
it's so good. Just the favorite part is when he's just at his parents and he just The character's smoking a cigarette, finishes a bowl of cereal, and goes, "Thanks for breakfast," and flips the bowl over. I've wanted to do that so many times. Like, but I got to clean it out myself. That's not fun. If I could do that and leave and have someone else clean it up, perfect move. Now, but I'm cleaning it up myself, no good at all.
Not so much.
But it's just a great movie. Watching him and his nerdy friend from high school just navigate the world and as they try to find women. It's so good.
I think that's a great movie that people just kind of forgot about too. I mean,
That is definitely low on the radar of people's movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If they haven't seen it, they've never even heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
If they have seen it, they loved it, I think.
Yep.
At least people I know love it. So I love me some Youth in Revolt.
I agree with that.
Interesting. I saw it in my research, and I was like, well, Kitty's taking that and 10 Things I Hate About You. So I'm 2 for 3. And I'm pretty confident in the third pick.
I feel like we should really have a sink pisser vote on this draft. I really want this.
All right. We'll put it up. We'll do it. Rance, third pick.
I went with another one of the kind of the same cast of characters. We haven't talked about it yet, but I went with Knocked Up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I went with Rogan, early Rogan. You know, he's the slob that ends up hooking up with Katherine Heigl, works for ETV or whatever, knocks her up, gets pregnant. Rudd makes another showing in this movie.
Another great appearance. Yep.
Another great appearance.
All his buddies, the quadruple.
Yeah, he's the sidekick. You know, he's a friend for Rogan. I mean,
Jonah Hill's in that.
Jonah
Martin
Hill.
Starr and Jay
Baruchel.
Baruchel. That's right.
yeah,
Both-
where they
all-
kind of
both
all
those
hang
guys are
out
great.
together and smoke. And I mean, it's
Making the Mr. Skin 2.0. They didn't realize Mr. Skin was a thing.
yeah, that's
That's the
right.
best part when I think Katherine Heigl might be the one that says it. You guys
Like Mr.
you mean like
Skin?
Mr. Skin? What?
Yeah.
You guys have been building a website that someone else has already built. Congratulations.
The back and forth between the single guys' lives and the
Yes.
married guys' life,
Yeah.
where they hate each other. I mean, that dynamic is just classic. And
Yep.
They
Yeah,
played it
it's
really
funny.
well.
It was, and
One of my favorite
part for
scenes.
Rogan, just the
Yes.
random guy that gets to accidentally hook up with a hot girl at the bar
Oh,
because she's just
Pissed off
feeling
about her
down and
job.
out and pissed off, and he scores.
He's going to the dice. He's going to the dice too much.
It's really all he's got.
Yeah,
Another
rolling the dice.
On the dance floor.
Yeah,
So
Knocked
there
Up
you go.
is definitely classic.
That was
Definitely
90% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Makes sense.
And Craig Robinson as the bouncer at the club when
Oh,
the
right.
girls
Oh,
try to go.
you're old. That's why you're
You
not going.
old girl.
Can't let you in here. You walk around pregnant and you with your saggy titties.
That is funny.
It's not me. I would tear that up. My third pick, I'm gonna go with another Seth Rogen, another Elizabeth Banks. Zach and Miri Make a Porno.
Ooh.
It's Kevin Smith rom-com. It's a little bit more vulgar than your regular rom-com, but man, it's also really, really good. Just the regular cast around him is also very good. It's got Jay from Jay and Silent Bob. It's got the sidekick from Clerks in it. Very good as well. Very good supporting. Craig Robinson is also in that as well.
Mm-hmm.
We just
Craig
got
Robinson showed up a lot.
Yeah, Craig Robinson, and also maybe a king of rom-coms.
Yep.
But it's definitely a little bit more vulgar, but still very good rom-com, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I only saw it one
Oh, man.
time.
I've seen it. It was on. I think I watched it recently when it was on non-cable.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Really
Not quite as funny.
lost a little bit, but it's still. 'Cause I've seen it before. I was like, I know what the scenes were. It was best. Still kind of funny to watch how they cut that movie up.
There's
Yep.
another conversation to be had. Movies that are ruined the most by going to cable.
True.
Mhm.
Samuel
really
L.
enjoyed
Jackson
that.
is my draft. pick.
Yes.
Yeah.
What movie is he in? right?
Snakes on a plane.
Snakes on a plane is number one with a bullet there. My final pick.
Ah.
There's some really good ones left. I talked to Brian about this one. I think I'm gonna go with it. Old Pauly Shore in a rom-com. What happens if you take a California boy and drop him on a farm in the
Great
heartland?
movie.
The
God,
answer
that is
is
a movie.
love. Son-in-law
happens.
is
Oh my
what a
God,
great
Very
it is
good
so
rom-com.
God, I forgot. I mean, yeah, that's so old. Yeah, I never even thought about that.
That's not
Well,
showing up. It's not going to show up on any best of lists that you look online.
No.
Nope.
They're dumb. They're dumb, I tell you.
Low-key best part of that movie, though, Tiffany Amber Thiessen doing a little strip dance.
That's
got
nice.
a lot of attention, and deservingly so.
I mean, and there was, to me, nothing more perfect than the girl that went to college and goes home, and her boyfriend that just wearing the leather jacket in college.
Uh-huh.
It was just straight from central casting of frat boy douche. Well, here we go. We found him. This square jawed yokel with his fucking stupid hair.
Cool.
But he didn't leave. He didn't leave the home. He's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Listen here, crotch. That's what I.
What is
I
his,
love some of those one-liners. Crawl.
what is his real name?
Squeezing the juice.
Listen here, crotch. There was
Paul
a
Marshall was the girl, right? No, it was Gina. Carla Gugino.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Who still looks great, by the
Yeah.
way. Still looks great.
Oh,
What a wild pick.
now crotch.
Son-in-law. Pauly Shore had a hell of a run back in the late
Yeah.
He did.
90s.
Encino, man.
In the army now with
the
old
Army
Andy
now is
Dick. Yeah.
Jury duty. Little jury duty with
Biodome. Oh man.
Biodome.
Oh, I forgot about Biodome with Baldwin. Stephen
went hard.
Baldwin.
That's
Basically just played himself in every movie.
Yes,
and just got away
100%.
with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Never changed his character once.
No.
Never needed to.
He just came out with a movie.
Wow.
Pauly Shore is
I want to
dead.
say like 7 months ago called Guest House.
Hmm.
Got the
Guest House with
coach.
Sinbad.
No, that's House Guest, I believe.
Oh,
Guest House is with Coach Taylor's daughter from Friday Night Lights, the TV show.
Oh, hello.
He plays the wife,
Huh.
and that they buy a house, but part of the lease is you have to have this guy stay in the guest house while you're there, and it's Pauly Shore, and it's just really not very good. But
Still the weasel.
Pauly Shore made a movie, and he's still
Weasel.
Pauly Shore.
Yeah, good. I saw he's on Cameo, and his videos are very Pauly Shore, so worth the money. He's like $250 though. So, I think we're Rance. Rance, what's your final pick?
Mm-hmm.
I went with one. It doesn't. I don't know. It starts off not quite like this, but I went with Me, Myself, and Irene because in the end, Jim Carrey falls in love with Renee Zellweger, who's a runaway fugitive, and he works for the Rhode Island State Police, and he's got split personalities. Charlie Ballygates and Hank.
Yep.
And it's great. The sons are great in that, and I mean, just a lot of great one-liners in that movie.
Very much so.
And the mustaches are hilarious, and when he shoots that Holstein cow about 8 times, and I mean that's great. I love that part. It just keeps unloading on it, and it's just making noises and bellowing in the street. Yeah.
That albino guy they pick up.
Oh my God, a human Q-tip.
Yeah. Hey, Milky.
Milky.
And he ends up he had killed his whole family, and he stays with them. And one of my favorite parts is those guys that had got done with the softball game, and he flicks his cigarette butt. He goes, "You gotta pick that butt up." And then they just start slugging him and working him over, just like kicking him in the ribs. I don't know why I find that so funny.
I know.
You just
I know exactly why.
You like guys getting worked over.
Yeah.
Well,
That's who you are.
it just reminded me of something that would happen in the area where we're from. Like the guy's just sipping on some suds after a softball game, and some other guy mouths off, and then they just pummel him to the ground.
Very true.
I forgot about that movie almost entirely, so that's another one I probably need to go check out again.
Oh, it's great.
Kitty.
There's a
holds
lot of
up.
other good one-liners that I probably shouldn't say. So
Sure,
Yeah.
we'll revisit those some other time. I'm sure. Kitty, final pick.
Yeah, it's about time to go traditional here. Gotta figure out which one I'm gonna go with. Let's
Lot of
see
pressure.
here. Yeah, I'm gonna go with one I've watched way too many times. Still love it. Little James Marsden in 27 Dresses.
Oh,
What? Wow.
Drafting 27. I gotta have a traditional rom-com. We can have
Whoa.
our male comedy, slight rom-com bullshit. It's time for a female-driven rom-com. We're going Katherine Heigl,
driven.
Malin Ackerman, Ed Burns, and James Marsden in
you
27
just say
Dresses.
Marsden was the first name you popped up, and he's like maybe second or third billing of that group.
He's probably number 2 in that one.
I've never seen that movie either.
Only seen him once.
Oh, it's just Katherine Heigl. She's always a bridesmaid, Rance, never a bride. That's the
true.
27 dresses. She has 27 bridesmaid dresses in her closet because she likes to keep
Oh,
those memories,
Yeah.
makes sense.
all the
Okay.
memories of all the time she was a bridesmaid. And of
Got
course,
it.
James Marsden is a writer for the local paper that does all the cutesy write-ups for weddings. But he's a real fucking cynic. Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no! What are we
Oh,
gonna
no.
do?
Oh no. Oh no.
He's a cynic. She just loves romance. What
He's a super optimist. Yeah.
I can't even imagine what would happen next.
Hijinks.
Oh.
Hijinks
Hijinks.
happens.
Hijinks definitely ensue. Oh, and you got a perennial favorite. I assume everyone loves her, Judy Greer in it as well.
Oh yeah.
Can't place that face.
Judy Greer.
She's the assistant on Arrested
Archer.
Development.
And Archer. Yeah.
Archer, yeah. Give him a cartoon, Josh. You know her
thought
face
that's where
from
you
the
were
cartoon?
going.
From the cartoon, you know her face?
Well, you said receptionist from. I was like Archer. Yeah, Archer.
Arrested Development. She was
Okay.
the one that Job hooked up with. She took her glasses off and she had cross-eyed. and put them
Cross-eyed,
back on
yep.
there. Hair up.
You
down.
can look her up
Glasses
and you'll
on.
recognize her immediately.
Glasses off. Glasses back on.
Yeah.
So there we
She's
go, though.
Good. She's.
I mean,
funny.
then they sing some Elton John in a bar, get a little too drunk, have a little fun. Ah, great times.
We've been there.
Great
Time or two.
I love that movie.
I did not see that coming. That
In your face, Josh. Boom.
yeah.
I'm gonna pick that.
Take that.
One of my picks.
Wow. Brian, bring us home with the final pick of this draft.
This kind of hurts because I still got so many movies that I love
Yep.
left on this list. I mean, my draft board was big and it's only about halfway correct right now.
Same here.
Oh, I got to stick with the one I've probably watched the most. I watched it way too much. I don't have to have my wife with me to watch it. It's not funny that much, but it's a rom-com. It on the scale tips more towards rom. Crazy Stupid Love.
I have it. Yep.
It's got to
Love
be
it.
on here. It's got to be in this draft. I mean, it's got some heavy hitters working, and it's entertaining. It's not that many funny moments. There are a few funny moments, but
The moments that are funny are hilarious.
yes, and I mean it's just well charactered, well acted, good lines, makes you feel something in the end.
Oh yeah.
So I'll take it over some of the cheesier ones that I've got on my list.
Yeah.
I was not a big fan of that dumb little kid
Sure.
Yeah.
running after the high school. Come on, get that kid out of the line.
Yeah.
That kid needs to go. Movie's way better.
Kids ruin everything, man.
They really do, man. It's a life lesson for everybody.
Yeah.
We're talking about rom-coms and movies, right? That's it.
Yeah. Just in Hollywood, kids are great outside of everything.
Outside of
else.
Hollywood, kids,
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yep.
Phenomenal.
They're They're a
Hollywood.
true gift.
Just terrible.
Yep.
Oh my God, my list is. We could have a second draft.
We
shit.
probably could. We could go another 7 rounds. I think.
No
I
one
think
took
it'd be
She's
fun.
All That.
No. Yeah.
That was almost my pick. The 4th round there. It's close.
God
Friends
dang.
with
27
benefits
dresses.
with-
She's All That, and Never Been Kissed were the 3 I was contemplating.
Mm-hmm.
Brian and I set a trap earlier this afternoon. We thought someone was going to take the Princess Bride, and we could not wait for it was kind of like the fireworks
On my-
moment from
It's on
the
my
4th of
list.
July draft.
Yeah.
Why, is it not a rom com for you guys, or do you don't like it?
It's fine. It's just terrible. and overrated.
Jesus,
I'm gonna get
I've
this
only
take
watched
off.
like 5 minutes.
It's awful.
Terrible.
It's terrible. I'm out of here. Get
You don't like
Princess Bride out of my
Groundhog
life.
Day or Princess Bride? These kids.
I had the wedding
taste.
singer on there.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
50 First Dates and Mr. Deeds. Both
Coming to
on
America.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
Euro
didn't-
trip.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Outside the box.
That is very outside the box. Friends with Benefits with old Timberlake and Mila Kunis.
Absolutely.
Never saw those.
Hitch.
Yeah.
I did see
Oh, yeah.
Hitch.
There was one I saw on a
Doug
list.
Heffernan.
Yep.
Probably no one. I bet no one else has seen it, but it was Just Married with Brittany Murphy.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yep. I watched
Yeah,
that.
I've seen
Even
that.
though they were already married.
5-year engagement and going
Right.
the distance. Both had really good. I'll say Jason Sudeikis is a quiet rom-com king as well. He's in a ton of rom-coms in both the starring role and in the supporting cast.
I think
Yeah, I
stuff
don't-
there.
the last comedy one I didn't put in the list, or I didn't make it on top 4, obviously. I Love You, Man.
Yep, on my list.
I
Oh,
mean,
right,
that had
yeah.
some great lines in it.
Yep.
And it had all your big hitters of Paul Rudd and Jason Segel, blah, blah,
Yep.
blah.
Lou Ferrigno.
Yep.
huge rom-com heavy hitter.
Slapping the bass, man.
peanut? Yep. So yeah, that was the famed romantic comedy draft that was just it was on the sunset for a while, and it's finally come to roost, and we did not disappoint in my eyes. I thought it was a very fun draft. So we'll put the poll up to see whose list is the best, whose couch you're gonna join for a rom-com night, and we'll move on to our best bet for the week.
Because there's a taxidermy.
The best bet. This is not going well. Not at all.
Speak for
going
yourself.
well. I again lost. Somehow the Bears disappointed me again.
What?
But,
Somehow you lost.
we could talk about that later.
Who could have
Brian,
ever seen that coming?
I'm gonna have you lead us off here. What's your best bet? I don't want to string this out anymore. Let's just fucking rip the Band-Aid off and get to it.
It's Saints -3 against the Bucks, Josh.
Okay.
Do you know those people that say it's hard to beat a team 3 times?
I do know those people.
These people are stupid or liars because that's dumb. It's coach speak purely. That's what they tell you when you're going to a game and you've dominated a team 2 times and they say, hey, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. Well, no, it's not. Not when you're the better team. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
And as Rance said, first game, Brady throws 2 picks. Second game, he throws 3 picks. This defense is a nightmare for him. So the average score in this game, in these 2 games, is 36-13. So why wouldn't I lay 3 points here when I think the Saints are even better than they were when they played them the first 2 times right now?
Yep, true.
I know the Bucks are hot, but give me the Saints. I got them as a Super Bowl team, so they're going to win and win by more than 3.
Okay.
Yep.
Kitty.
I like it. All right, I'm done with taking spreads and totals. I'm going to a team total. I'm taking Chiefs over 33 team total.
Yes.
I'm guessing on the team total because spreads 56 or over under is 56. They're -10, so it should be around 33. Maybe it'll go to 33.5. But I mean, they spread it out to 28-0 lead on the Steelers. The Steelers still got 33,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever they got, 35, 34, around there. Give me the Chiefs getting 30 over 33. That's. Hey guys, this is my lock of the century of the week. First time I've said that all year, so this is huge.
Oh, this is it, huh?
Oh
This is the
my.
lock of the century of the week, right there.
Take that. Go ahead and take that to the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Rants.
This used to be one of my favorite segments, but God, we're just so shitty at it. I mean, who would possibly even be listening at this point when it comes to this?
Well, they know they
someone
can fade
does.
us confidently.
Somebody
Somebody,
if somebody's using what we're saying, then they're shit ass broke because they're not making a dime.
We got
They're
told.
getting their asses kicked.
I got told. A couple of us got told yesterday that someone listened. It's high comedy. Listened to our best bet segment after the games.
After the games, yeah.
I can
It's not fun.
understand because I thought a lock of the week. Oh, the Steelers. I mean, don't sleep on the Steelers. They go out and get dog stomped. They got gas pumped by the Browns.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I just feel just like a dipshit every week. I'm on doing these bets.
Yep.
And I love it.
So, and I'm just gonna go, and I don't really have any reasoning because when I do have reasoning, I lose anyway. So I'm just gonna say I'm gonna take the Ravens at +3. I
Okay.
think their defense is playing pretty decent. The Bills haven't been this far in a long time.
Still
Let's
goes into
see. Let's see
diatribe of
what
his
happens.
reasons.
That's what happens.
I love I don't have any reasons, but here are my reasons.
Those were two just baby reasons. I didn't even go in depth. Shut up.
Well, speaking of reasons, my reason is that I'm really bad at this. I've lost like 7 straight, so I
And
really
the Bears
only
are
have.
out though. The Bears
Bears
are
are
out.
Yeah, the Bears are done, so at least you're
can't
safe
hurt
from
me.
them.
You
They can't
cannot hurt
you
me anymore. So I'm really bad at this. Everything I say that happens does not happen. So with that being said, I'm taking Cleveland plus 10 against the Chiefs. I don't think I need to say why. I'm just I'm betting responsibly, if you will.
Team player.
Yeah.
I love it.
So go Browns. That's how we end this week. No.
Go Browns, he said.
But yeah, I think that's all we got for you. This jam-packed episode is the longest one we've had in a while, but I think it was totally worth it. We do want to give shout-outs again to Craig Stout of Arrowhead Pride and the AP Laboratory podcast. Go check out his work. Go check out Brad Trinago as well if you're not into Mizzou Women's Basketball. But if you are, he is a great play-by-play guy. A very, very colorful analyst there. So I'd definitely go check it out. But also the pregame show and the halftime show from Mizzou Radio, also very good. But we really enjoyed having Brad on. We'll talk to him in the future more than likely. So I think that's all we got for Brian and Kitty and Grant and myself. We do appreciate you one more time. Top for now.
The day is done. Now the night has begun. Nerves in a restless crowd. The burning sun. Now nowhere to be found. Deeper to ground. 'Cause I have faith that nobody else can protect you, no. Our page is burning, we'll all be dead under virgin snow. I have faith that nobody else can protect you, no. Our page is burning, we'll all be dead under virgin snow. So hold your body close to the flames. Don't go so wide, walking away. Hold your body close to the flames. Don't go so wide, walking away. A loaded gun. Pressed against my brow. 'Cause I wonder how all this undone. Holding fast to a vow. 'Cause I laugh aloud. 'Cause I have faith that nobody else can protect you, no. My page is burning, we'll all be dead under virgin snow. I have faith that nobody else can protect you, no. close to the flame.